What's going on, guys? I'm gonna just say thank you right now to Nick Santamaria, our friend Nick, when he finally arrives in here. He is totally the reason you have a live stream tonight, because I have family in town. Totally forgot about the live stream tonight until he texted me and asked if we were going to do the live stream. So thanks, Nick, appreciate it. So yeah, we are live. It's been a week. It's been kind of a week and a half, really. So as you can see from the backdrop here, we've been doing some work on the studio. That's kind of going back to, as you guys heard last week, I am now officially the host of The Dirt on Equipment World's channel. And so I decided to spruce up the studio space for that. And then, you know, it was the gentle nudge, because I've been wanting to spruce up the studio space kind of to begin with. And this was kind of the push that I needed to go do that. So that's the updates behind me here. Other than that, it's actually been a pretty lax week. We went up north with some friends to my in-laws cabin, hung out, went on the boat, and just took it easy this week, because we have, as you guys know, I've been to Minnesota. I came back and immediately went in on some pretty hardcore jobs with Rick. I've been working for my farmer buddy down the road, which is actually what I'm going to be doing tomorrow, is running dozer on that job. So yeah, it's been quite a time here recently. So I just decided this week we were going to take it easy, and I wasn't going to sweat too hard about anything going on. So I don't really have any big fancy official updates, other than this Friday will officially be my first episode of The Dirt airing on Equipment World's channel. So be sure and check that out if you get a chance, coming this Friday. Yeah, so what's happening, Northeast Ohio farmer? What's good to see you, good to have you here. So you guys will have to let me know on the audio quality too. So as you can see tonight, I no longer have a microphone in front of me. I actually have a new microphone that is hanging from the ceiling directly above my head right now. And I am curious about the audio quality on that, whether it's too echoey or not. You guys will have to let me know on that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. JJ from Puerto Rico. That's awesome, man. Glad to have you here. I love it when I get guys from other countries. That totally makes my day. So I appreciate you hanging out, JJ. Let me know if either one of you guys have any questions. I see there's only 8 of us in here, and it's probably my own fault, because like I said, I totally forgot we were going to go live tonight, and I didn't do my pre-post like I normally do. So it's going to be kind of slow getting started this evening, I'm sure. So I'm really depending on you guys to give me some questions to keep me rolling here, because I don't have any. Like I said, I was out of town all week. This was a super easy, lightweight week for me. We are gonna stick with our drink from last week, which is the Jameson in the stout barrels. Sorry, aged in the stout barrels. So that's what we're gonna stick with for this week, because it's flipping good. So yeah. Oh, totally unrelated, just out of nowhere news, because I know you guys just love to obsess about my life. I'm just kidding. I realize you don't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I had someone smash my mailbox while we were up north. That's what I came home to. So today, on one of the hotter days we've had over these last few weeks, I got to toil in the hot sun planting a new mailbox. We went with a galvanized steel mailbox pole for this time, because I'm not going to have someone smash my mailbox again without breaking their arm in the process. So that was fun. And then I should pre-apologize if we have any like burst-in interruptions at some point. I have my nephews and my niece in town. They came to hang out for a week along with my sister and brother-in-law. So they're not used to having a YouTube person in their house, and so one of them may bust in the door here in a little bit. I'm just gonna pre-apologize for it. It is what it is. So Northeast Ohio farmer broke the D400D out last week. Double drive shaft fell out. Ooh, well, that's not a good time. So how expensive is that fix gonna be? I don't even know what a D400D is, in all honesty. Oh, I got you. Okay, so old off-road truck. I'm with you. We're on the same page now. So that's not going to be fun at all to go fix. Yeah, that's not a good time. We actually, when I was out in Minnesota 3 weeks ago, One of the off-road trucks we were running was an older model, and we actually had to take the intermediate shaft out, so it was only four-wheel drive at that point, because I think it was a U-joint that ended up getting destroyed and grenading itself. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Nathan, what's happening? Good to have you. Ryan, how's it going? Good to have you, man. Good to see you. Nick, thanks for reminding me about the live stream. I was just talking about you. I have family in town. I totally forgot we were gonna have a live stream until you texted me, and thank God you did. Because I was on with my evening. I had a couple things I was gonna do this evening, and then you were like, hey, are we gonna do the live stream? Yep, totally. So yeah. Ryan, the background. I am now officially, if you weren't here for last week, I am officially the host of The Dirt for Equipment World's channel. And so it kind of prompted me to finally do something with the backdrop here. I actually have an excuse now to do something with the backdrop. So yeah, I have been playing around for the better part of a week, getting this all dialed in roughly how I like it. I'm still not a fan of, let me point to it right. That's hard to do on the camera because it's backward. My cord right there, I'm not a fan. But the only alternative is to take the cord down to the floor, which you would see the cord running like the entire distance this way, and that would be even uglier. So yeah. Excuse me, pardon me. So yes, we're still tweaking, we're still dialing it in, but I think we're getting closer. I need to get a few more die-cast models up there so that it actually looks a little more filled out. But I'm liking it. I like the lighting. I think it's nice. I don't know if any of you guys are computer nerds or gamer nerds, but it's got the Portal look to it. If you ever played Portals, I'm a nerd. I've played Portals, so I kind of have the Portal vibe going on. I'll just say it. I'm a nerd. So anyway, Northeast Ohio Farmer, absolutely, absolutely shoot me some pictures and text my number. I will shoot you my number back, and we can absolutely get a back and forth dialogue going. So thanks, JJ. I appreciate that. So what we've got here is I have my Case 580 backhoe. This is my 2050M dozer. Up top is my Cat 938K loader, which is what I spent a ton of time in. Basically, all of my die-cast models are machines I've actually run. Back here, we've got a D5K2, and then we've got my little Case 210D. So yeah, it's a nice little spread. It's a start. It's a start. I'd like to fill those shelves out entirely with die-cast models, but as you guys probably know, they're effing expensive. So it's just gonna take some time for me to be able to swing filling that whole thing out with die-cast models. So it is what it is. Brandon, oh my gosh, man, just the daddy statements. I don't know what to do with you, Brandon. I'm sorry, but it's good to see you, my friend. It is good to see you. Just an idea, but if you get a bigger die-cast model up there, you might be able to hide the cord behind. Hey, good call. Maybe I'll get like one of those mama cranes and like swing the boom over somewhere where it's covering the cord up. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I may just punch a hole in the wall. We'll see how ambitious I get here. So actually, the reality is I'm probably going to be super lazy and it's just going to stay like that. And you guys, after like 1 or 2 times, won't even notice anymore. I won't even notice anymore. And then we'll just keep on going about life. So yeah, anyway. So what have you guys been up to? Anybody got anything interesting going on? Because like I'll say it again because now more of you guys are showing up. I've been sitting at a cabin up north pretty much the majority of the week because I finally took a half a week off to kind of chill out because it's been a freaking mad dash for the last few weeks. So you guys tell me if you've got anything crazy going on. And then obviously again, more guys are joining in. Let me know what you think of the audio compared to previous weeks. I don't know if you guys even pay attention to that to the degree that I do, but I have a new microphone. You'll notice there's not a microphone in front of me. There's actually a microphone right here, and I want to make sure that audio isn't too echoey. So let me know what you guys think so that I can adjust that for possibly next week. And ultimately, this is for the dirt too. So I gotta have good audio, guys. I'm anal about it. I don't know, it's just one of those things that I get super uptight about. I like my audio and my video quality to be top notch. And so that's what we're going here. That's what we're going for here. what I should say. Anyway, had a couple of those cat metal they are awesome, Nick. So in fact, I will just pull one down and show you. So my little D5K here, we're getting a little closer for you. Come on, there we go. So not only the level of detail on this sucker, but ripper moves, and it's actually got the like complex linkage back here. The blade, so let me do it from the side. So you can angle, you can tilt a little bit, not a lot, and then obviously you can do the up and down. So like these things, oh, and by the way, the tracks actually move, and as you can see, they are metal, and they do have track sag in them. Now, you don't have to adjust these tracks, but that's pretty slick. Like, I'm super thrilled with these. My mother-in-law knew, she found out that I was kind of into these die casts, and so she is responsible for the vast majority of them, believe it or not. She has been for birthdays, Christmas, stuff like that. She's been hitting me up with die cast models, which is pretty awesome. I have a great mother-in-law. So anyway, so let me go back to the comments here. Operate a JCB or a backhoe. Brandon, why don't we just make it Hell's Kitchen and we will operate a JCB backhoe? In fact, maybe that will be a video for down the road, is I will somehow get myself into the seat of a JCB backhoe and see how long it takes me to break it. I think that would be a good video topic. I think that would get some views. So yeah, exactly, Ryan. We're all in. We're just gonna do a JCB backhoe. Saw a poor 330BL cat excavator that needed to be rescued from its owner. I'll tell you, some of those old machines, like you see them and you see the life that they've lived, and it makes you sad for them. It is sad to see. But what can you do? Because I don't have a crap load of money. Gotta watch the language. I don't have a crap load of money, so I can't just go buy all these old cool pieces of equipment. Yeah, Nick, they do. So both my 938, so the case ones didn't come in a fancy metal box. So, you know, again, case, dropping the ball when it comes to marketing. But with the cat models, it actually came in a nice little tin. I gave them to my kids for them to store things in, but it has all of the specs of the machine on the back, and it's got some like really cool pictures on it. It's awesome. I love die casts. I really do. I love them. So, Camille, what's happening? Is it Camille? How do you pronounce it, Camille? Because I'm going to be honest. When you first logged in here, I thought you were a female. And so when you sent me your profile over, I felt really uncomfortable and weird because I've been calling you Camille this whole time thinking that you're a female. Let me know how you actually pronounce your name. And if it's Camille, that's great. But traditionally in the US, Camille is a female name. You can see the confusion there and the awkward uncomfortableness. So anyway, let me know. It's good to see you, man. I appreciate you hanging out. And I'm sorry I've been short on like the messages back and forth this week, but I was up north hanging with the family, and so I didn't have a whole lot of time to respond. So I do apologize about that, but it's good to see you, buddy. Ryan, audio sounds good. Nothing 100%. That's why in all honesty, that's why I'm so anal about my audio and video. Is like video's obvious. If it looks super grainy and it looks like garbage and the camera's shaking all over the place, obviously that takes away from it. But audio, like I ran sound for the longest time. I still help out running sound from time to time. And so I've always been an audio junkie just by myself, like within my own right. But man, it drives me nuts when a video has like terrible audio quality. So yeah, 100% I'm with you. We're gonna scoot my video over just a hair so I'm a little more centered. It looks a little weird when I'm way off to the side. So let's see here, Nick. You got a 140M and it has GPS. Dude, I'm a little jealous. I need to get a blade up here. I do. Maybe that'll be my next one. I gotta go price one of those suckers out. Let me know what that one sets you back. Because that's the other thing about die casts. They ain't freaking cheap. Like you're upwards of like $70 to $100 for a die cast, which is why I only have the collection that I do so far. Oh, by the way, that 930, sorry, backwards. That 938 sitting up there, that is a set of pipe forks. In fact, I'll just grab it and show you. So that is a set of pipe forks that do take the place of the bucket there, and they are like legit pipe forks. So not only do they flip up and down, but they actually slide over, just like a true set of pipe forks. So yeah, The thing's freaking awesome. I love my die-cast models. I nerd out on these things. They're freaking awesome. So, anyway, put those back up there. So yeah, love the die-cast. Back to the comments. Let's talk about the Deere Backhoe. Let's talk about the Deere Backhoe, Nick. Because I'm not a fan of Deere backhoes. I think Deere, like, I don't know, they just feel, it's kind of like, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar, so I don't even know if I'm like ready to expose myself to the into this world about what kind of a person I am, because I know you guys are gonna rag on me, but I like rice burners. I'm just gonna say it. I like rice burners. I love Fast and Furious. Not like the 18 million movies that they've done with the franchise, but the original like 4 up to Tokyo Drift or whatever. I'm a fan. I like it. I'm sorry, but I do love them. Anyway, going back to the Deere Backhoe, and you're probably wondering how in the hell I'm going to tie this all together. Just wait, I will. So one of the ridiculously fast cars at the time, in fact, I want to say it was the fastest in the class, was the Dodge SRT. And it was basically a Dodge Neon that had the like performance package on it, had a ridiculous turbo, and it was a fast as crap car. Like in its class, it was the fastest car. But I absolutely hated it, and it's something stupid small, but it drove me nuts. The shifter in that thing, it was a manual transmission, and the shifter went all the way to the freaking floor like you were driving a pickup truck, and it was ugly as sin. And then the car on the outside was still a Dodge Neon, so it also was ugly as sin. And I feel like that's the John Deere Backhoe. Like instead of making your handle to control the front bucket like this nice, like really clean looking laid out lever, instead it's this huge freaking honker. Like you look like you're in an 18-wheeler where the guys put the ridiculous extended shifter on it. Like that's the way I feel about the interior of the Deere Backhoe. And so that is ultimately why I'm not a huge fan of the Deere Backhoe. That I've never been a huge fan of like them from a digging standpoint. It is what it is. So that's my Deere Backhoe story right there. So let me get back over here. Nathan, from a musician and studio veteran, audio is good, only echoes when you're not in front of your mic. Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna have to do, Nathan, I need a few more acoustic panels in here just to get that little last bit of echo down. Because unfortunately I cannot get this mic any closer, because literally I'm touching the mic right there. It is just out of frame. I can't get it any closer without it being in the frame and looking really funky. So it is what it is. I'll get a couple more acoustic panels and try to throw them up here maybe sometime this week, and hopefully that should kill the rest of that echo. Nick, back to you, sir. You might rip on me, but my buddy has a JCB 3XC and a Cat 430F backhoe, and from the backhoe ran the JCB is real close to the Cat. Ooh, Nick, that's a bold statement that JCB is close to the Cat. I would have to see it and experience it to believe it. That's all I'm gonna say. I won't throw you totally under the bus, Nick, because you are my friend and I value and treasure your opinion, but I would really have to experience that for myself, because the JCB that they brought out to pit against my case was a piece of crap and it had no power whatsoever. So I'm not saying that that's the full line. I'm simply suggesting that's the full line, because that's better, right? Anyway, ultimately what's going to happen is JCB's going to have to send me some equipment that I can really put through the ringer to defend themselves. That's my goal here. We're just going to trash them so hard that they're forced to send me some equipment to really test out. And maybe that's the way we go about this. Maybe that's like this new strategy I should take, is just totally trash the equipment until they're forced to send me one. And then I can be like, oh, I'm totally shocked. It wasn't a piece of trash. It was actually a decent backhoe. We'll see. All right, let me fire back up here on the comments because I'm getting behind. Let's see here. Colton's Farm, what's happening? You did make it on time. I'm proud of you, my man. I am proud of you for making it on time, and I'm glad to have you here, buddy. JJ, here in Puerto Rico, John Deere has become the go-to for people starting their own heavy equipment business over Cat. Is it like that in the U.S.? No, in fact, in all honesty, So on your bigger companies, Caterpillar is the go-to. John Deere is slowly digging into that market share. But for guys who are starting a company, generally I would say that they typically go with something like a Case 580, or they will probably go with, I would almost say Cat still wins out over Deere for the most part, but it is getting closer and closer. Deere has really stepped up their game here in the US over the last like probably 10 years. And they're really starting to cut into Cat's market share, I will be honest. So, all right, back up here. So I do see, oh, where I lost my spot. Here we go, like 120, yeah, Nick, that's it. They are, mine are all 150 scale, and yes, they are easily, most of them are north of $100. They're expensive as crap, which is, like I said, that's why I have the small collection I do. Steon, yes. I agree. I think if audio's totally terrible, you can have a really good looking video and I still won't watch it. Audio is super important. I totally agree. And yeah, I agree with the background beats. Like, I like my music in the background of my videos, and I can't tell you the number of old timers that have come through. If you go through my comments on videos, it's always these old timers are like, your music's too loud, and they bitch, and it's like, I'm not turning the music off. Like, I've already turned it down a little bit, and that's as much as you're getting, because I like having my music rolling in the background. It fills the empty space. It doesn't feel so like naked and empty. That's the only thing I can say. Like, it really fills that void when there's any sort of dead air. So that's why I've got it in my live stream, is if there's a second of dead air while I'm thinking about a response or anything, it's not just dead, awkward silence. So I'm keeping my music, and you guys can just piss off if you don't like it. So yeah, Nick, the 938's awesome. That was my Christmas present from my mother-in-law, and I'm a huge fan. Northeast Ohio Farmer, I appreciate it, and after the live stream, if I remember to, I will check that email and respond. If I don't, I will get you in the morning. Maybe. I'm working tomorrow. I'm running a dozer tomorrow, so give me a little bit. I promise I'll respond. I promise I will. Ryan, never been to a John Deere backhoe, never been in a John Deere backhoe, but they look cheap. Just look at the cat. That's kind of my feeling on them, Ryan. Like, I honestly haven't operated one for any extended duration, but just sitting in the cab on various occasions that I have, they just feel cheap, and they feel like that SRT I was talking about. They don't feel like they really put a lot of time and effort into the cab. So, Steon, no, let's see here. But I can't ever freaking pronounce your name. Vijalmer. We're gonna go with that. Yeah, I saw that. They did get the cars to outer space, and that's kind of like, after Tokyo Drift, I feel like that whole franchise was just like, you know what? People are already watching these ridiculous movies. Let's take it as far as we can and see if people keep watching. And so they totally lost me after Tokyo Drift, I think, is when I dropped off of the franchise. I'm a huge fan of like the first, what was that, like 3 or 4? And I enjoy watching those, but past that, it's like, nah, not so much. You lost me. Let's see here. Steon, yes. The turbo, yes. I will 100% agree with you. The turbo on those neon SRTs, it aroused me deep inside. It did. It aroused me. So, Ryan, joystick on the John Deere looks like a damn shifter. Yes. And it's the first thing you know. Yes. 100%. That's the way I feel. Chapel, how big of an effect? I'm sorry, I can't frickin' read. How big of an effect does GPS make when getting into the Union? Not a whole lot. Really, what they're concerned about in the Union, as far as the Union goes, is can you run the equipment? GPS is a skill that you need to learn, because I will say, and I've got some down and dirties coming out here in the relatively near future that are going to talk about this, but running GPS is a skill that is separate from running a dozer. So just because you know how to run a dozer, someone can't stick a GPS in your machine and boom, off to the races, and you're just this champion GPS dozer operator. there are things you have to learn about how to operate a GPS and how to run the GPS and read the GPS and know what the machine's doing in order to be effective at that. But I will say this, it is 100 times easier to learn GPS than it is to learn how to run a dozer. So what the union is concerned about is, can you run a dozer? Because we can teach you GPS, and within probably 2 or 3 days, you'll have GPS down pretty pat, and then you're just learning all the little like small shortcuts and stuff within the system. But as far as being able to run GPS, within a day or two, you're pretty dang comfortable on it. So really what they're concerned about is, can you run that piece of equipment? Can you run the dozer? So it's not that big of a deal. I wouldn't worry too hard about it. Colton Farm, no, I do not like the one-arm skid steer. I will say it is super popular with farmers. I totally understand why. It's a really easy machine to get in and out of, especially with the telescoping boom. It's really good for stacking hay bales and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, and I hope I don't offend you when I say this, because I know you farmers work hard. I'm not discounting that at all. But relatively speaking, like stacking hay bales and most of the stuff that farmers do with a skid steer is relatively light duty work. And when you really start cranking on those skid steers in a heavy duty work application, I have been to multiple locations where customers have had the boom itself, where it attaches to the machine, has started cracking and bending the frame. On a wheeled skid steer on the mono boom, the rear tire on the side of the boom had actually peeled away from the frame. So it had cracked all the way around the wheel, and the wheel had started to peel away from the frame because of the disproportionate torque that it was putting on the frame of the machine. They had already re-welded, and I started talking to the guys, they had already re-welded that same spot like 3 times. This was the 4th time they'd had it happen. Also, where the coupler attaches to the mono boom, they had cracking there from the uneven torque that was being placed on the actual boom and the skid mount. So overall, no, I'm not a fan of those machines. I don't think they're built heavy duty enough for like true dirt work in the US. I think they're great for farmers. They do a really great job on farms, but again, that's relatively light duty work. So now that being said, I do love getting in and out of that cab. Like, it's a very comfortable machine to get in and out of. I'm all about that. But this is the dirt world. You got to be able to work it hard and have it stay together for you. Let me catch up, guys. I'm sorry, I'm falling behind. Nick, stupid 3-piece rear window, the hood's 30 feet long, the tractor, shifter for joystick. You have to take out drive control, jack yourself, loader bucket. Yep. I will agree with all of that. So DDG Gerb, yes, this will go on the YouTube right afterwards. So it immediately turns around, and I think YouTube goes through some like optimizing process, and I don't know if it's truly available to you, the viewer, but I know that I can go on my channel and I can view this immediately afterwards. So let's see here. Nick, JCB3CX is stronger than the 430. What? That is ridiculous, Nick. I'm tempted to call blasphemy. Stian, how do you feel about using tractors on job sites? We used one for hauling material with a trailer. Was really impressed with what it could do. So interestingly enough, I spent some time early this season with Fetchco Excavating in Medina, and they're running case quad tracks pulling scraper pans. And I started talking with the operator, which is like their best scraper operator. He's been there for a long time, and he really knows the ins and outs of the machine. I'm totally sold on tractors. Like, if I were to start a company tomorrow and I was getting into large land balancing jobs, I would not go purchase a new cat scraper. I would purchase quad tracks and the K-Tech pans. They are far more efficient. They can haul more material. They're like more reliable. You also, if you have a tractor go down, you just unhitch your pan, put another tractor in front of that pan, and you're still up and running. Unlike a scraper where the whole machine is down if that scraper goes down. So there's a lot of benefits to running the quad tracks. It's a much smoother ride for the operator. The overall operating cost, from what I understand, don't quote me on this, but from what I understand, the overall operating cost is lower on on the tractor than it is the scraper. So there are actually a lot of benefits. I'm a fan of running tractors on job sites. I think they do a really great job for specific applications. Obviously throwing a loader bucket on one and taking it out on a job site isn't going to be an effective use of time. But for turning material with a set of discs when you need to dry it out, I mean, you're not going to do better than a tractor. For pulling pans, those tractors, the quad track specifically, do really well. So yeah, I'm all about it. Rasha, somehow I knew this live was going to go towards talking about JCB. Of course. This is the Diesel and Iron live stream, which should be code for crap all over backhoes of JCB. Bring it on. Mim Miller, I forgot what the M stands for. Is it Mark? I can't remember. Correct me. I'm sorry. I am good, and absolutely, I am more than happy to respond to emails. And remind me where you're out of. You're relatively close. I'm sorry. I'm totally sorry. I did read your email, obviously, because I responded. No recollection, because it's been that crazy of a week. But remind me where you're at, because I'm all about getting together sometime. Colton Farms. Why does everyone hate JCB? I don't understand. They're just coming. It's not so much, I don't hate JCB, the company. And I'm not going to speak for everyone in the chat. I can speak for myself. So I sold equipment, for those of you who are unfamiliar. I sold Case and Cabelco machines for 2 years. And so I really got a good flavor for all of the equipment that's out there on the market and kind of how it fares. And I got to see a lot of different applications, because I wasn't a dirt guy running a machine. I was the guy selling machines. So I worked with foundries, I worked with farmers, I worked with dirt guys, I worked with underground guys, I worked with paving crews. So I got to see a lot of these machines in a lot of different applications. And consistently what I found was JCB was just a poor performer. They didn't have the power, they didn't have the quality. Like I mentioned with the mono boom skid, you had a bunch of issues. And I will give it to JCB. They've been pretty dang innovative when it's come to giving new functionality to machines. So for instance, their backhoes, they've got a lot of really unique features that you don't see on normal backhoes. Their skid steers going with the mono boom with the side entrance, they're really innovative with that stuff. But the problem I've seen in the past is they haven't really put those to the test. And so they have these really cool ideas that weren't implemented well. And so what ends up happening is you have a really expensive machine, because to make that mono boom or to make all those fancy backhoe features, you're adding cost to the machine. So it's an expensive machine that ultimately falls on its face, because it doesn't have the power to compete with its competitors in the market. And then you have all of these issues that you've created by being what's the word I'm looking for? I'm having a total brain fart. Being creative, whatever. I can't even think of the word. Anyway, so they kind of create their own problems, unfortunately. And I think it's because they haven't really done hardcore proper testing on that stuff before they release it into the market. So I don't hate JCB as a company. Their machines are just not up to snuff, or at least the ones I've experienced have not been up to snuff with all of their competitors. So Northeast Ohio farmer, John Deere equals contractor, Cat equals mining. Yeah, to an extent I would say that. I mean, obviously Cat's still really holding their own in the contractor market, but I would say Cat absolutely owns mining outside of maybe, I know Liebherr over in Europe has a huge hand in mining, but yeah, Cat really is the mining king. So yeah, and Brian, that's true too. A lot of it is kind of like backhoes. Like, I will run a backhoe. I'm not totally offended by running a backhoe, but it's turned into almost this running joke and this meme on the live stream, to the point that I have multiple people that I communicate through with Instagram here, and they will send me JCB backhoe pictures because it's just them trolling me. So it's really more of a running joke at this point than it is the actual hate for JCB and backhoes. But without fail, like tonight, prime example, I didn't bring up JCB. You guys brought up JCB. You guys brought up backhoes. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So, let's see here. Nick, last week before a 1 week break, and then it's to the stupid hours. Yeah. That's what I don't miss about being a full-time operator, Nick. I'm gonna be honest, like this like mad dash to get to the end of the season and you're working crazy hours and all that, I don't miss it at all. And so yeah, I'm good with what I'm doing, the freelance thing where I get to come in and I get to make a mess and then I get to leave while someone else cleans it up. So Stiana, man, can't think about winter right now, just starting to forget about last winter. Oh, it's coming, buddy. We were talking about it today. We're almost through summer, believe it or not. And it feels like yesterday was like the 1st of May. Like, no joke. This summer has flown by because I spent a month out in Minnesota with Carson Shifsky. Carson's in the comments. Look at that. What's happening, Carson? Glad you could come hang out with me for a little bit. We need to figure out how to do a live stream through Zoom so that we can do the back and forth thing again. But yeah, I spent a month out there in Minnesota with Carson, and you want to talk about time flying by. That was a time warp. Like, I came back from Minnesota and was like, oh, we're halfway through summer already, and I just left. So yeah, it's been rough. Raimundo, good informative brother. Can't talk, I'm sorry guys. Good informative videos, brother. Not a new operator by any means, but new to flow line work. A lot left to learn. I appreciate you watching. Just allow a quick reset of my brain. I'm sorry. Okay, reset complete. I appreciate you watching, Raimundo. And obviously let me know if you've got any questions or if there's anything I can answer for you. I am more than happy. Like, one of my favorite things is getting video requests, because believe it or not, I do run out of ideas for videos. So having people request topics makes my life a lot easier. So if you've got anything you want to know about, if I don't know the answer, I will certainly go out and find you an answer. Colton, like the old controls on backhoes, the one with 2 sticks and the small ones for the outriggers. So I've always called those wobble sticks, the kind of taller, long ones. I'm not a fan of the wobble sticks. I like the pilot controls. I feel like I have much better control, much better feel, because you actually have the hydraulics in a small, short joystick, so you get a lot of haptic feedback in your hands. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the wobble sticks. But real men use foot swing controls. There you go. Let's see here. Chapel. Didn't I answer that? Oh, GPA. I'm sorry, Chapel. So you did mean GPA and not GPS. That's my bad. I'm sorry. I don't think, and I'm gonna put a big disclaimer on this one. I don't know for certain, but I don't think GPA has a huge factor into getting into the union, because they will administer their own test to see how you do as far as and I don't even know how much grammar there is. I think it's mostly like basic arithmetic. They just want to make sure that if you're stuck in a situation where you're working on a grade rod and you're trying to figure out how far up and down the stick you need to go, you're going to be able to do that math comfortably and know what's going on. So I don't think it makes a huge difference, but please don't quote me on that, because I do not know for certain. Why does JCB have X shape for the controls on the backhoe? Ones with the 2 sticks and the small ones for outriggers. Everyone's got their own flavor. I honestly don't know, Colton. Yeah, everyone's got their own flavor when it comes to backhoes and how they do the equipment. I will say JCB is an English company. They're not an American company, so there's going to be some funky stuff that goes on with their machines just because they're not an American company. So, Nick, yeah, digging the rock wall, buddy. I'm glad you were on that project and not me, because I think everyone after this last round of videos knows how I feel about effing boulder walls. So, yeah. Ryan, 100%. It's that Pink Whitney. It's going to his head, and he gets confused. He gets jumbled up. It happens. It happened that week that I drank it, because I walked away from the deal with a purse. So, I'm just saying. Carson, tractors and K-Tech pans, pretty much cats. Yeah, absolutely. So after I spent that time down there with Fetchco and really talked to their operator, I'm totally sold on the K-Tech pans and quad tracks. Like every aspect about it, like they hold more material, it's a smoother ride, it's less maintenance cost, they're more fuel efficient, like across the board. It was a win going with the pans and the pans and the quad tracks. So Steon, cool, thanks for the answer. We're considering getting a tractor for moving material internally as well as moving an 8-ton machine short distance. Yeah, I think that would be super effective, Steon. In all honesty, I think that would be a really, really effective machine to have on the job site. They're built for pulling. I mean, they're pulling machines, so. Colton, gonna be the first company in North Carolina to have all JCB. Oh, Colton is raising the bar. He is doubling down and he is going to have a JCB fleet. Oh my goodness. We're gonna have to go see Colton and rag on his equipment a little bit. Maybe we'll schedule a trip to see you, Colton, and you can really school me on JCB and maybe I'll come away a believer. I'm not ruling it out. It's just gonna be, chances are slim. That's right, Merrick. I'm sorry, Merrick. I apologize. And Cambridge, that's right. We had that whole conversation because I'm well versed in Cambridge. I will get down to see you at some point here in the future. I don't know if it's going to happen this season. Fair warning, because it has been a crazy season, and we've been all over the place. But at some point, I will get down to see you, brother. Let's see here. Doom. So Northeast Ohio farmer. You've told me your location. You're further north than Cambridge, if I recall. Dan, opinions on New Holland equipment. New Holland's okay. It's got a lot in common with Case. In fact, I think their backhoes are... No, I'm sorry. Their skid steers are actually the same, just rebranded Case skid steers. I haven't spent a whole lot of time in any of their other equipment. I know their backhoes were kind of I don't really have a full-on opinion about New Holland other than if you're talking specifically skid steers, they're pretty solid machines. They are just a rebranded Case. So they're pretty decent machines. Colton, that is not true. JCB stands for Junk Company of Britain. That's actually, I'm sure if you scour the internet, you'll find that factually somewhere and it will totally back me up. Let's see here. What do you think of Liebherr? I honestly don't know. I've never ran a Liebherr. The only Liebherr I have ever run was a John Deere dozer that was the equivalent of like a D8, and it was a rebadged Liebherr. Because that was back before John Deere actually made their own dozers that big. So I don't have an opinion on Liebherr. I would love to try one, but I'm in the US and we don't hardly have them. The dealer around here that has Liebherr literally has like 4 pieces of equipment on their entire lot. Like that's how big the dealership is. So I'm not thinking I'm going to get in the seat of a Liebherr anytime soon, but I would like to try it at some point in time. Brandon Culpepper, tell me a joke. All right, so there were 3 scientists, and they got together and they decided they wanted to see what would happen if they plugged up an elephant for a year so it couldn't poop. So they got together, they formulated this giant cork that was fit just right to that elephant's butthole, and they corked him up. And so over the course of the next year, the 3 scientists spent all of this time training a monkey to go up and pull the string on the cork so that the day of the experiment, no one would be in danger. They would have this monkey go and pull the cork. So after a year and all of these trials, they've got the monkey trained and he does exactly what he's supposed to every time. They have bunkers set up, and one bunker is a half mile away, one bunker is a quarter mile away, and one bunker is only about 100 yards away. And so the 3 scientists all split up, they do the experiment, and the cork is pulled. And so after the experiment, they start interviewing the scientists. And so they interview the first scientist, which was a half mile away, and they say, well, what did you see? What ultimately happened with the experiment? And the scientist said, I couldn't see anything but poop everywhere. It was just this giant explosion. There was poop everywhere, and that is literally all I could see. It smelled for 3 days afterwards. And they were like, okay, well, very interesting. So they went to the second scientist and they said, well, sir, what did you see? You were only a quarter mile away. And he said, well, I don't think I've ever seen that much poop in my life. And in all honesty, it was almost like a mushroom cloud that came out of that elephant. I honestly don't know how the elephant survived for an entire year. There was that much poop in the animal. And they said, oh, interesting. Okay. So they went to the third scientist that was only about 100 yards away, and they said, sir, what did you see from your bunker? And the guy just shakes his head and he goes, I've never seen anything like it. He said, obviously there was poop everywhere, but then I just saw this poor little monkey desperately trying to put the cork back in. There you go, Brandon. Just for you, buddy. Oh, let's see here. Nick, at the end, it's the 2 jobs at the same time. Getting the snow removal equipment ready. Yeah, I don't miss snow removal at all, which we've had this conversation before. I hate snow removal. Yeah. Nope. No, thank you. Carson, miss you too much going through the withdrawals. Yeah, absolutely, Carson. I'm having withdrawals too, buddy. Like, I'm a little disappointed I don't get to come hang out on the job site. And that's not, like, I'm not joking either. Like, I was genuinely sad to come home. So I do miss you guys. Tell your whole crew I said hello. And I am sorry about those catch basins that we missed being staked at back of curb. I apologize about that. Ryan and I were talking about that. Between the two of us, we should have caught that. And I'm sorry, man. That makes me really feel bad that you guys had to move those. Nick, you keep telling me that, and I keep telling you, sweet Jesus, man, if I can get into a Hitachi or a Volvo, I will record the video. I don't have a Hitachi or a Volvo to get into yet. I'm working on it, dude. Just calm yourself. Dan, foot swing. You know, I never got good at running foot swing, but I do like the aspect that foot swing isolates all of your movements. I feel like you can be more precise with foot swing, but I've just never gotten good with it, so... let's see here. Yeah, Ryan, that's actually the industry right now. Nobody in the industry can get you rentals. So, Rick and I had a job 3 weeks ago, I think, and we spent like, I want to say it was at least 2 or 3 weeks waiting between Cat, Komatsu, Deere, Case. We spent like 3 or 4 weeks waiting for anyone to get us a rental before someone was able to finally secure a rental unit for us. So that's just the industry right now. And I would love to go see Chris. That would be a fun job to go hang out with him and dig some ponds for a day. That would be a good time. Nick, be proud of the wall, man. Like, if you put in that much work into a project, even if it sucks and you hated being there, like, there's no problem with being proud of that. That's all. Yeah, you should be proud, man. Thoughts on Komatsu? Their dozers are awesome. So I've spent a fair amount of time in one of their dozers back when I worked for Dan's, and then when I was out in Minnesota with Carson, we actually rented a Komatsu 61PX, I think was the model. And dude, that thing was a pushing beast. They're goofy looking, but it was a beast, and it was really well balanced. It pushed like nobody's business. You have visibility that is unrivaled because of the fact that they've moved their cooling package to the rear of the machine. Like, they're great machines. Excuse me. I haven't been overly impressed with the... Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. The scotch. Whew. I haven't been overly impressed with their excavators. Like, they're not bad machines. I just have never really been super impressed with them. They've always felt a little sluggish to me. But that being said, they're good machines. They're reliable and dependable, so they're not bad. Nick, you might think I'm crazy, but I never saw a scraper in Quebec. That's the only thing that's quad track with bamboo. Huh? Well, that's interesting, Nick, because we have scrapers all over the place down here. That's true, and Quebec is a little strange. I will hand it to you. They promote the snot out of Pink Whitney up there, so a little judging. Yeah, Nick, so that's kind of my thoughts on Komatsu. They're good machines, but for the price, like, the cab really doesn't feel that nice, and they do feel a little sluggish to me, so yeah. Let's see here. Lubear getting very popular around here, especially for excavation. Maybe they'll tap into the American market, Nick. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. But right now, there's no Lee Bears anywhere in my area that I'm aware of. So one of these days, I'll try to get in one. Only Lee Bears I've seen is a dozer roughly the size of a D6 and a large loader, both run by a large concrete company, and they seem to like them. Yeah, I don't even have that experience with them. D-Sweet. I don't know that you're going to find a whole lot of ladies here, but how's it going, buddy? Thanks for hanging out. Merrick, come see us and we'll put you to work in the 2017. Oh, Merrick is offering up a Lee Bear dozer. Okay. So genuinely, seriously, if you mean that, Merrick, I might have to bump up my timeline of coming to see you. If you lure me out with a new machine that I have not run before, I will absolutely bump you up in the queue. So, yes. Let me know if you're truly, truly serious. And don't stand me up like that jackass in freaking Louisville, Kentucky that I drove all the way down there to run a track loader, and he stood me up, didn't call me back. Like, I'm still a little bitter about that if you couldn't tell. Anyway, do I like removing stumps? Yeah, there's something satisfying about popping stumps out of the ground. And if you go about it the right way, you don't have to destroy your machine doing it. So, yeah, I like popping stumps, believe it or not. D-Sweet. A Leave Shriver? What are you talking about? A Lee Bear, man. A Lee Bear. What's it, German? I think it's German. I'm confident it's German or Dutch or something like that. I don't know. It's European. It's European. So, as Americans, we don't care about it. So, yeah. It ain't American. So, hate foot swing on the Mini. Dude, Nick, I've never run a Mini with foot swing. I can tell you right now, I would hate my life and I would send the machine back if they sent me a Mini with foot swing. I will not stand for it. Absolutely not. You should collab with Let's Dig. He runs Vault. Rasha, I would love to, but I'm kind of a pipsqueak compared to Chris, and so I don't really feel like I'm in the world of hitting him up and being like, hey, you mind if I come hang out with you for a day or two? We'll wait until I get a little bigger, or maybe we cross paths at some point to kind of breach or broach that conversation. What's the right word there? I don't know. We'll see. But I would love to go, genuinely love to go hang out with Chris, like just as people. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Cool video would be talking about how many trucks a site can handle. We're bringing in gravel for the road, and just finding the perfect amount of efficiency in trucks is interesting. Carson, 100%, and I'm actually going to have you on to talk about that, because I honestly have never had to coordinate that, and I am actually really curious how you are going about finding that delicate balance and kind of what your mental math was getting there. So at some point, we do need to legitimately figure out the Zoom thing, so that you and I can talk through that with people kind of interjecting. In fact, I'm going to write a note. How to do a Zoom, how to live stream to people. Okay, I'm going to do some homework this week, Carson, and see if we can figure out how to do that if you're interested still, because I know you're still swamped, but maybe when it slows down a little bit for you, we can do that. Ryan, never seen foot swing in a Mini unless you're talking about the pivot boom. Yeah, Ryan, I'm in the same boat. I take that back. I think I saw one ridiculous old Mini that was like from the late 80s that had a true foot swing controls. Outside of that, I've never seen it. So, Colton's opinion on XCMG, Saney, and Mel. I don't have one. I have not come into contact with any of that equipment on the ground. So I honestly don't have a true opinion. From what I've read from other people who have run them, they're kind of like the discount equipment that's pretty cheap and isn't really where the up on the quality with the rest of the manufacturers. But again, I don't know. I've never run them. I am curious to sit in one and actually see how it handles. So I'm sorry I can't be more helpful there. D-Sweet, no wonder we lead the way in Cali. Komatsu Dozer. What's the matter with a Komatsu dozer, D Sweet? You can't come in here talking all this trash and you're not contributing real information. Come on, give us some real information. What are you running out there in Cali? And what do you mean leading the way in Cali? The only thing you guys are leading the way in is ridiculous inflation rates and high rent. I mean, come on. That's not leading the way. AP, what's going on? It's been a while. I'm assuming you're busy working, which is awesome, and I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for you. But we have been missing you in here because we've been talking about JCB almost every single freaking live stream. Oh, Mitchell, you're going to get me in trouble. Union versus non-union. Union wages are better. You generally have better health care, better benefits. Advantages to non-union, you don't have that union attitude that is really taken over for a lot of guys, to where you're a laborer and you're going to labor and I'm an operator and I'm just going to operate. That mentality drives me nuts. Everyone should be willing to get out and help everybody. There's also a lot of politics in the union, as most of you guys know. Whether you want to get into the union or you want to do anything within the union, there's a lot of politics. Case in point, with my channel, obviously I'm promoting guys getting into the industry, and I don't care if it's union or non-union. I'm happy for anyone to just get into the industry. I cannot get the union guys to call me back. Like, legit, I have tried multiple times, cannot get them to call me back because I'm not on their like list of people they want to work with. And so that sort of stuff, when it comes to the union, really drives me nuts. It really gets under my skin. And so that's kind of my frustrations when it comes to union stuff. D Sweet, I'll 100% disagree with you on that. I don't think that union is better quality by any means. I think you've got good quality coming from both union and non-union companies. I actually would go the opposite and say you have a tendency more of a union company to have more of the complacency of, like, this is my job and I get this amount and it's always set, and you know, it is what it is. And so there's that kind of complacency that steps in. So I'm not saying that's 100% the case by any means, but there are elements of the union that I am not a fan of. But you cannot dispute the fact that in union states, wages are higher, benefits are better. So I am a fan of the union to an extent, but there are aspects of the union that I'm really not a fan of. So let me go back up here. Like the stream, you'll become pro. Skyjuice, I am a pro, man. The world just hasn't recognized my proness yet. Just kidding. I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate you watching, and as always, I appreciate the support from all of you guys. Excuse me, pardon me. Allergies have been going nuts lately. Ryan, one company near me is switching from Komatsus to Cats. Apparently, when they were pricing new equipment, the Komatsu was more. Komatsu has been pretty spendy. Like, no joke, Komatsu's expensive. But like I said, they're dozers. Like, from a visibility standpoint, you don't have another dozer in that's going to compete. Like, straight up, you cannot compete with a Komatsu when it comes to visibility. When it comes to pushing power, in all honesty, I'd put it right up there with a Case, and you guys know how much I love Case dozers, how well they push. So, yeah, I'm a fan of the Komatsu dozers, but again, not a huge fan of the excavators. So, let's see here. Have you seen Coyote? No, I have not seen Coyote. I don't even know what Coyote is. Hang on a second. Let me pull up my browser window here. I don't even know what Coyote is. Oh, let's see here. Let's go to images. Let me make sure you guys can see. Okay, you can see. I have never seen a Coyote. So they were compact tractors. It looks like it's kind of along the same lines of Kubota. They started out as compact tractors, and then they started to bridge over into the world of skid steers. Interesting. I don't have an opinion. Never seen one. European. That's right, D-Sweet. Deer minis have foot swing. Do they really? Still? I did not know that. All right, Merrick. We may start conversing towards the end of the season here when things start to slow down a little bit. I may be able to swing down and see you, and I may do like an overnight and work like half a day with you, do an overnight, work half a day, and then head home. Yeah. Let me see how the season shapes up here. D-Sweet, 590 backhoe uses foot swing. D-Sweet, it's not just the 590, bud. It's any case backhoe. They come standard from the factory with foot swing. You actually have to select whether you want the wobble sticks or pilot controls, buddy. Every case comes standard with foot swing. Boom. I just schooled you. And you thought Cali was the best. Man, I'm schooling you. Let's see, Ryan, of course. John Deere with the foot swing on a mini. Yeah, probably have to. That's right, Ryan. D-Sweet, Ryan sounds like they get a win-win with the brand switch. Yep. Ran anything from Takeuchi. So, yes, I have run Takeuchi skid steers, the old one. So, it was technically a Mustang, which was the rebranded Takeuchi skids. We had a CTL. Actually, it was a track machine. One of the best skid steers I've ever run. It was reliable. You could beat the snot out of it, and it would just take it all day long. It was one of the best skid steers I've ever run. And unfortunately, they totally ruined it with their emission system. They are having terrible issues. Nick, take it easy, man. Good seeing you. And I appreciate you hanging out despite the early morning. But to go back to Takeuchi, they're having horrendous emissions issues with their skid steer line now with all of the after treatment stuff. So unfortunately, I can't recommend Takeuchi to people like I would love to. But anyway, been off with COVID. AP. Ooh, you got the COVID. You haven't gotten the vaccine yet? Come on, man. Ryan going with donut operators review on California. It's the armpit of America. I will say this. California is beautiful. I would love to go to California, except that you're full of crazy people and your taxes and your just cost of living is through the roof. Like, I can't, like, I would love to go visit. I'm never going to live there, but, Cole, what are XCMG? I don't know, Colton, like, that's legit. I don't know anything about those machines. I couldn't even tell you. I am totally ignorant when it comes to XCMG. So I honestly don't know. Sorry. That's right, JJ. It's the meme, man. Everybody's got to have their thing, and my thing is just hating on backhoes and JCB. Aaron, what's up, man? The Cat 352 looked neat on the sewer job. Any in-cab footage? Unfortunately, I don't have in-cab footage because I didn't get to run that beast. That was somebody else running that machine, so unfortunately, I do not have any in-cab of the 352. Now, that being said, sometime this week, a buddy of mine has a new 315. It's got the same cab setup with the iPad, you know, sitting there with all of your stuff on it. I'm going to go play around with that, and you better believe I'm recording footage, so stay tuned. Let's see here. Colton, how many scale models do you have? You see them all right back here, Colton. Unfortunately, I've got 1, 2, because, oh, sorry, I leaned the wrong way. So there's 2 over there, 2 over here, 1 up top. So 5. That's my die cast collection because they're effing expensive, and that's about $500 right there. We're getting there. I'm gonna get more, I promise, but I need money. So, oh, not you, the viewers. Sky Juice, I totally forgot what we were talking about for what you're referencing there. I'm sorry. Why does the equipment in India look different? Good question, Colton. I would say most equipment. So this is if you're not familiar with the equipment market, there are things that are called gray market machines. So believe it or not, every manufacturer has equipment that looks different in Europe or South America or Africa, or they build their machines for a specific market, and so there are differences in machines. So when you hear the term gray market, what has happened is someone has bought machines that were, let's say, supposed to be sold in England. They shipped them over into the US, and then they tried to sell those machines in the US. From the outside, for the most part, it looks like an American machine. The problem is when you try to go get replacement parts for it because something breaks, all of a sudden you realize that your local dealership can't pull up that serial number because it doesn't exist in the US. It's a totally different market. It's a totally different system that they use to look up parts. The parts don't physically fit the machine from Britain because there are different parts that go on those machines than go on the US machines. There are, India's a great example. Their emission standards are not anywhere close to where America and Britain's are. So they're still putting out machines with like no tier emissions stuff on them. It's just a raw diesel engine like the old days. So every manufacturer has machines that are different for each market. It's just, especially in India, because there's the poverty line and everything's made super, super cheap over there. That's the only thing I can guess as to the looks. D-Suite Komatsu is actually the second largest producer of construction equipment. I believe that. I 100% believe that. Komatsu puts out some, and they're in the mining game too, right there with Cat. They put out the big stuff. So, Brandon, I'll be your friend. I will be your friend. Farm crap. Don't know what we're referring to there, D-Suite. Wobbly stick control guy. See, Colton, I have one of my old customers which has become a friend, Angelo, which has a channel, Reality is a Comedy. If you guys want to go follow him, he's pretty funny. But he is a wobble stick guy. And I give him so much crap for it because it's terrible. I hate wobble sticks. But he loves them. And he does not like pilot controls. So I know you guys are out there, you're wobble stickiness, but I hate wobble sticks. There you go, Brandon. D-Suite's gonna be your friend too. Look at that, you made 2 friends tonight. That's awesome. Glad to make those connections happen. Dan B, my father has a case 680H with the foot swing, and it's great for doing rough work, precision. You want to take joysticks. So, it's one of those things like everything else in this industry. If you've grown up with the foot swing controls, there are guys that are absolute artists with the foot swing controls. And then you get someone like me on there that's used to pilot controls, and I look like it's my first day running a piece of equipment when I get into foot swing. So, but those old 680s, like, those are solid machines. Sebastian, opinions on zero tail swing excavators. They're awesome. So I will put the caveat on it. If the manufacturer puts a real cab on it, where it's not one of the like tiny compact ones, they're awesome machines. And the reason why is it's totally counterintuitive. They have ridiculous lift capacities, and the reason for that is because of the geometry. If you think about, and we're going to use my phone as an example, if you think about a normal excavator, let's imagine this is the upper structure of the excavator. Your boom sits at the very front of the machine. It goes up and down. So everything pivots off of this connection right here, and it's all the way to the front of the machine. If you look at the design of those zero tail swings, that boom actually sits right here in the middle of the machine. So what you've done is, now your fulcrum has moved back here. So instead of your tipping point being out here and all that weight being towards the front of your tracks, now it's right in the center. And so believe it or not, these machines, because they're operating with the boom in the center, actually have higher lift capacities than the full-size machines in the same weight class that they operate in. I'm a huge fan of zero tail swing because not only the obvious part of you can get in places you can't with a traditional machine, but also you get that higher lift capacity. Now the one downside to that is it is a bitch to get in there and work on one of those things because they have jammed everything into this tiny footprint, so everything is super cramped and crowded, and they're generally a little more expensive because of that, because of the engineering involved to shrink everything down and fit it in there. But they're awesome machines. Let's see here. With the 4-stick controls, how do you remember which lever does what? It's like anything else, Colton. You run it for a day and it just becomes second nature. You just know what everything does. Ryan, the only thing I know about XCMG is that Chris can pull off the impossible and get one out of a pond. Dude, that's right. Dude, that was a I know, I just got serious all of a sudden. Like, legit, I went into that because, like everybody else, is like, oh, I want to see this excavator buried in the pond. What I took away from that was just how good of an operator Chris is, and how well he knows his niche of what he does. So to have him go into an area where someone else has completely buried an excavator, and for him to not only dig it out, but to then yank it out without getting himself into trouble, like, that is a guy who has totally honed his craft. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly where he's safe and where he needs to look out. He knows his craft. That was an awesome video to watch. He was a surgeon with that excavator, getting it pulled out of that pond. That was an awesome video. Which, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Let's Dig 18, go check his channel out and go look. I think he titled the video like worst excavator recovery of my career or something along those lines. Go check it out. It's awesome to watch him pull that excavator out. Back to work Tuesday. Hopefully you got your license for a roller. Oh baby, AP rocking the roller. That's what I'm all about. I love the roller. Everyone hates the roller. I hated it when I started in the industry, until I realized now on the backside of my career, like, that's the easiest job out there. Like, you literally go back and forth and you just hang out all day and you watch everybody else and learn. Love the roller. Colton, you're leaving me for another live stream. That's like a dagger in the heart, bud. Man, enjoy your other. I feel like the woman on the side. Like, that's rough. Enjoy your other live stream, and we'll see you next week. Dirt Perfect live stream hurts your numbers here on some days. I didn't even realize Dirt Perfect was doing a live stream on my nights. Damn it. These are my nights. Sunday nights are my nights. What the F? Anyways, so Dirt Perfect is live. I wish you could, like, somehow raid someone else's live stream with your live stream. Like, just dial into it all of a sudden. That would be fun. Danby, if you want, I can send you a video of me running it. Yeah, absolutely, man. Shoot me a video over. So you'll see my email show up down here, but thatdiggerdude@gmail.com. Yeah, shoot me a link to a video. Oh, let's see here. So the video you did on the sewer install with the Cat 352 in the trench boxes. What do they do when they come to utilities? Cut them, fix them later? No, they pull the boxes out, Merrick. So what they'll do on that one, that was a 3-box stack. So they will get the pipe all the way to whatever the utility is. And then they will have another set. They will either pull those boxes immediately, or they will have another set of boxes that they'll start digging on the other side of the utility. So let's go to that 352 one that we're talking about. So there was a gas line there, but if you notice, that was pretty high up in the trench. So what they would do is they would sneak those they would pull the top box off and set it off to the side. They would pull the bottom 2 boxes underneath that gas line, and then they would, when they got to the other side of that gas line, they would put that the box back on top. And while that 3rd box is not on top, he's either got to bench it out more, or he's just got to have the laborer get out of the hole until he can get that box situated to where it's safe to get back down in there. So, but they won't ever cut utilities to bypass them. Generally, if you get into that situation, what ends up happening is you coordinate with the utility company, and they have to come out and do some sort of a relocation of the services so that you can get your work done if you're in that situation. Let's see here. Got your license for dumper, just getting roller one. That's awesome, AP. That's great. Because yeah, you just went to work like at the beginning of this season, so that's awesome. Yeah, Risha, I'm sorry, messed you up. Yeah, rollers are awesome. I'd run a roller all day these days. Colt, what happened? What was Dirt Perfect not as entertaining as yours truly? Are you gonna give it to me? Are you gonna let me hear it? I'm more entertaining than Dirt Perfect? Don't tell him that. Yeah, Ryan, 100%. So I was the exact same way. So, you know, when I was a young guy that was just getting into the industry, all I wanted to do was get off that roller. Put me in a real piece of equipment, let me do some real work. I don't want to be on this like filler piece that you put everyone on that you don't know what to do with. Like, get me on a real machine. Now I look back at the roller and I'm like, first of all, there is skill to running a roller. To do it effectively and efficiently, there is skill involved to running a roller. But secondly, that's a no pressure job. Like, there's no pressure running the roller. Everything else on that job site, there is some degree of pressure being applied. Except for the roller, you're just hanging out. You chase you follow your dozer operator around and you make sure you're getting compaction. And if you don't, it's all right. We'll just hit it again. Like, there's no pressure. I love running the roller now. So, Sebastian, is an engineer's ruler and eye level a good way to check grade by yourself? I'm on a job without a grade checker and find it tedious to get the tape and grade rod out every time you check your slope. So, honestly, I've never played with an engineer's ruler and an eye level. But yes, that is a good way to do it if you know how to use that efficiently. That's a really good way to check grade. But in all honesty, like, you're running a tape, like, throw the tape away, pull your laser out, put your laser somewhere where you can do a big, nice long run and you've got the ability to reach your eye, and then just get out there and take some grade shots, spray yourself some marks so you know how much it needs to, be filled or cut, and off you go. So outside of, there's really not a great way to check grade for yourself. It's kind of 6 one way, half dozen another. So that's right, Ryan, it wasn't nearly as good. This is way more entertaining, because we talk about JCB on here and everyone loves talking about JCB. If you could have one job for the rest of your life, what would it be? I don't know, Brandon. Sweet Jesus, why are we all of a sudden getting like super spiritual and like high level with these questions? I don't know. You want to know the honest answer, the true honest answer? I'm doing exactly what I want to do right now. Like, legitimately being in the industry without running equipment full time and having to pull the crazy hours. Like, this is a legit dream job what I'm doing right now, because I get to spend a ton of time with my family. I still get to run equipment almost on a weekly basis. And I get to interact. I love people. I legitimately love interacting with people. And so, like, everything about what I'm doing right now, I'm thrilled to death to be where I'm at doing what I'm doing. So this is kind of it. I've kind of reached my dream job, if you will, assuming that we can keep the income steady and this continues to grow. This will be my dream job. So, we've only got a little 5-ton Tachi. You mean JCB? You love JCB? Yeah, AP loves JCB. AP is from England, so everyone knows, the home of JCB. And he's trying to convince me that JCB is the cat's ass, but unfortunately, it's not. I'm sorry, it's just not. Boom. How many high-speed dozers were built by Deere? I don't know. Ooh. People on DP Live all chat at the same time. Well, I don't know what to say. He's got way more subscribers. Why don't you rub that in a little more? He's got way more subscribers than I do, and that's why everyone chats at the same time. How many high-speed dozers were built? Let's see here. Oh, we're gonna have to put Deere in because it doesn't know what I'm talking about. High-speed dozer, high protector. I'm looking for you, and I'm not finding anything. It is funny because all of the most recent stuff on the high-speed dozers is from like 2008, so it's very clear that they kind of flopped. I don't know. I'm not finding anything that's answering that question, Colton. I have no idea. I have no idea how many were built. And so, Colton, you just said you've got the 675B skid steer. I'm a fan of Deere skids. Like, the visibility is not great, but they've got power. They're like solid machines. I was a fan of the Deere skids. We're gonna top off. Sorry, guys. We're just gonna top off. Having a good time. Yeah, AP and his JCB. I tell you, man. Yeah, Ryan, that's 100% what I'm worried about. As my channel grows, I want to keep the conversation, but that's ultimately when you've got a crap load of people in one room, ultimately you're going to lose the ability to do that. Lever Monkey, what's happening, man? So if you guys don't follow Lever Monkey, go follow his channel real quick. He has a ton of really, really great underground content. Kind of like he is an underground guy. I have done underground. I ran loader for an underground crew, but he's a mainline digger and he legit knows underground, getting into some really complex stuff and really deep digs. You guys should absolutely go follow his channel. He's got really good stuff. So thanks for hanging out, buddy. I appreciate it. AP JCB works well in your environment. They've just come out with a new zero tail swing machine. What is your environment, AP? I feel like from the quality that JCB has put here in the States, I feel like the environment in which you're digging is styrofoam packing peanuts, because anything beyond that and JCB is going to break. Boom! I did say that. I did say that, AP, and I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, though. I like giving you crap, man. You know, Colton, I found that Google will pull up exactly what you're looking for as long as you word it exactly the right way. And sometimes you legitimately have to word your question exactly how you would ask it in person. But I did just try to Google that and it didn't come up. So unfortunately, we're just stuck with, we might have to call John Deere and ask him, how many high-speed dozers did you guys produce? How many of them big old turd bags did you guys put off of your factory line before you finally figured out they were turd bags? You might find that offensive, though. I wouldn't recommend going with that line of questioning. Colton, not popular at all. I don't think I've ever seen a high-speed dozer in person, legitimately. I've only seen them on YouTube, in all honesty. So, again, we kind of touched on this last week, but no one has a problem in the dozer world. No one has a problem of, man, this machine is so freaking slow. I wish I could doze at 3 times this speed. That's not the problem. Like, everyone's problem is, I need a bigger dozer, or I need something that's going to be more responsive. Excuse me. But I don't think I've ever come across someone who has wanted to doze at 15 miles an hour. Like, legitimately, that's just not the dozer world. And that's why I thought it was so odd when they came out with the dozer to begin with. You kind of created this product for a world that didn't exist. Like, there was this market that they created this dozer for that just wasn't there. No one was in the market for a super fast dozer. And I think that's why they ultimately flopped. I could be wrong on that as far as the actual reason they flopped. But to me, no one wants to doze at 15 miles an hour. Like, it's just too fast. You guys know from being on the job, like, already when you're in 3rd gear flying in a D6, like, you got to be good on that dozer to keep up with that blade. Now go 3 times faster. Even your really, really good dozer operators are going to struggle to keep up with that. So I could see maybe if you were doing finish grade with GPS, but even there, it's just not that big of a need. They created a solution for a problem that didn't exist. So Ryan, I think AP's got in the Pink Whitney. Seems to cause people. That's right, Ryan. It's that Pink Whitney, I tell you. AP nods busy sites with hard work while operators don't abuse their machines. That's right. I will say that. We as Americans love to pound the shit out of our machines. So, yeah, we are rough on them. You also have a different caliber of operator when it comes to European, and I actually learned this. I used to sell, I used to sell hydro excavators and back trucks, and I actually learned this when I was selling for that side of the industry, that over in Europe, your operators are a totally different caliber of what you get here in the US. In the US, it's generally like an hourly worker, and they don't really have any expertise. They just get thrown into the position and it's learn on the job. Versus over in Europe, like, you are an operator and it is a certified position, and you have to go through classes and trainings, and you become a true, like, they really understand the craft element of this, that you're going to get trained in that craft. And so even when it comes to backhoes and excavators and like your regular standard equipment that's not overly complex, they still take the same approach. And so your caliber of operator that's in that seat is just another tier over what we have in the States. And honestly, that's probably one of the biggest problems that JCB didn't really foresee when they brought their stuff to our market, is you're not dealing with an operating engineer. You're dealing with a guy that's getting paid hourly to rail on a piece of equipment because I don't pay for it and I don't give a shit what happens to it. So anyway, I appreciate that, Lever Monkey. Feel free to check away, my man. Yeah. I appreciate you coming over. Why on John Deere Agricultural it says John Deere, and construction it says Deere? That's not uncommon. So Case has Case IH, and that is their ag line, and it is the red line. All of their ag equipment is red. And then you have Case CE, which is construction equipment, and it is the Power Tan line. Power Tan is the official name of the color of Case equipment. So for those who kind of dabble in both worlds, it's not uncommon for them to kind of rebrand but be within the brand at the same time. So there's some crossover, but at the same time, like the color scheme, John Deere, when it comes to ag stuff, is, you know, everybody knows John Deere green and yellow. But at the same time, if you look at their construction side, they've got that kind of gray coupled with that kind of like orangey yellow. It's a totally different color scheme, even though it's the same manufacturer. So it's to keep it within the same brand, but at the same time differentiate it that it's not John Deere ag. We are construction. So the only time people wanted to doze faster was just getting the grade control to where they could go to normal speed without jumping anything faster. Yeah, 100%, Ryan. I think I kind of feel like that's what John Deere might have had in mind with the high-speed dozers, is they were really thinking about machine control and how quick you could go. But absolutely, like, there's only a certain point where you're going to go fast on a dozer, and then you're just going to flip over into a grader. A grader is a far more efficient machine because of where you're at in the overall process. Like, dozers are designed to move a lot of material, and in order to do that, you have to have a heavy machine, and it's got to be geared low, so it's going to be slow to create the torque that you need to really push that dirt. Versus a grader is not a bulking machine, generally speaking. Obviously, a lot of guys use them to bulk material, but that's not what they're built for. That's not what they're designed for. They're designed for fine grading. You're only cutting a little bit. You're not cutting 1.5 feet at a time. And so I think ultimately that's what the market kind of proved with this failed experiment with the high-speed dozer, is people aren't going to buy a high-speed dozer that's not good at traditional dozing so that they can doze faster with machine control. They'll either tolerate the speed that they can doze with their standard dozer, or they will bring a grader on to the job and finish out with a grader. So anyway, do you know any construction shows in North Carolina? Colton, unfortunately, I am totally ignorant to most of the construction shows in the U.S. outside of the big ones like Concrete World. I think it's Concrete World and Con Expo. I don't follow any of the smaller shows, so I honestly don't know. JJ, never seen any operators, even veterans, on dozers grading at high speeds on their dozers. They do it at the speeds they are comfortable. Yeah, and most guys, in all honesty, most guys are pretty comfortable right around that second gear range. If you go back to the true, like the D6N series where you had true gears, right around that second gear speed, unless you had a really good operator, then you might bump up to third. But yeah, most guys aren't going to doze much beyond that because it gets to be, it's too fast. It's happening too fast for you to keep up on your blade control, and you get into the hoopties, and you know, There are very, very few operators that are good in third gear on a dozer at top speed. I would venture to say there's almost no one that's going to be able to doze at full speed in one of those high-speed John Deere dozers and be good and accurate. Like, can you do grade? Can you do some rough grading with it and be pretty accurate as a really good dozer operator? Sure. But are you going to be able to fine grade a road at top speed in one of those high-speed dozers? No, you're going to slow the machine down to what you'd be running in a standard dozer. So why not just buy the standard dozer and save yourself a lot of money? Because that was the other aspect of those dozers. I never saw a price tag, but from what I understood, they were astronomically expensive because of the complexity of the machine. Why not just buy 2 dozers? Because then you can doze twice as fast with 2 dozers instead of 1. Like, I don't know. Some guys here in the UK have mini hoovers in the cab along with polishing kits for the machine. Oh, I totally believe it. You guys are all about wearing the sandals and dropping them off in the cab. Like, I'm all about it. If I could do that here in the States, I'm all about keeping a super, super clean cab. I used to wipe my cab out every other morning, and I would use Pledge so it didn't have any dust. It looked brand new. I'm all about having the hoover. But unfortunately here in the US, it just doesn't really work that way. We don't, it's very rare you find yourself in a situation where you're not in and out of the machine all the time tracking mud in. Notice you have Backhoe scale model. Back in 2017, did you ever see the red case skid steers at CTL? I did not see any of the red case skid steers at CTLs. I didn't even know they made those, in all honesty. And yes, I do have this right, there it is. That is my scale 580 Super N, because I sold the snot out of those, so I had to get one. Ryan, he's not against them, Colton. He knows there's a time and a place for them. It's not like he's going around bringing them back on site. Yeah, absolutely. Like, if I'm on a job site and we only have one machine that we can get in there and it's a backhoe, I'm probably going to bitch and moan about it, but I will run the backhoe, and you know, it's fine. It's a tool, but it's just like any other tool. I mean, let's talk about hand tools. I would way rather run a spade shovel than a flat shovel. Now, is there a time and a place for a flat shovel? 100%. And is that going to be the tool in certain situations? 100%. Is it my favorite tool? Nope. I would way rather run a spade shovel. And that's kind of the way I view backhoes, is like, I'm gonna bitch and moan if I have to get thrown on the end of a flat shovel, because I'm just not a fan. But at the same time, like, yeah, I need to use this flat shovel and I'm gonna use the flat shovel. That's the way I feel about backhoes. Yeah, there's a time and a place where a backhoe is the tool, and we'll use it for that narrow window when it is the tool. But 9 times out of 10, there are other machines that will do it more effectively, more efficiently, and so I would rather use those tools than I would use the backhoe. So that's kind of same with JCB. All of these things that we crap on every week on here on the live stream, in all honesty, Colton, it has become more of the running joke and the meme than it is about the actual, like, I don't despise backhoes to the extent that I come off on here, but it's become such a joke now that we have to run with it. Like, backhoes are terrible, especially if Frank ever shows up again. I know Frank's super busy, but from Diggin' OK, if you guys don't follow his channel, he's got a great channel. But Frank, I always have to give him crap because he loves his backhoe, but I have this dire hatred and disdain for backhoes because that's what is fun to watch and fun to talk about, and it's become the meme of the live stream. So yeah, it's don't dig too hard into it, Colton, because in all honesty, I will run a backhoe. I have no problem running a backhoe, but I'm gonna bitch about it the whole time. So let's see here. Doom to doom. AP, are there John Deere construction equipment in the UK? I believe so. I'm pretty sure Deere's got a pretty strong presence in the UK. Sebastian, what are some pointers for someone new to underground utilities but not excavation? Underground utilities. Don't ever take for granted multiple things. Don't ever take for granted that the utility is directly where they marked it. I would actually say give yourself like a 4.5 to 5 foot window, even though the utility locators, say give yourself a 3-foot window, I would open that up even further, because a lot of times what will happen is you'll have a tracer wire that peels off this way, but the line stays straight, and then you dig your 3 foot and you're like, oh, nothing here, and then boom, you hit your utility. Technically not your fault, but I can tell you from experience, because Rick and I just got through with a situation where it was 100% not our fault. Until you can 100% prove it's not your fault, you're getting charged for it. So that's number one. Number two is don't ever take for granted that you know, let's say you've got one gas line, one cable, and fiber. So you got 3 utilities. Don't ever take for granted that once you locate those 3 lines, you're done. Dig down another 1.5 feet or so and dig out your 4-foot width and make sure there are no other utilities. I cannot tell you the number of times that we have taken for granted that there was no more utilities. We go to take a pass, and then all of a sudden, whoa, you get waved off because the dirt falls, and there's another like mystery power, like no one had a power line marked there and there was a power right underneath it. So those are the biggest things I'll tell you is go slow. When you're digging around utilities, there is no rush. It is go slow. Make your laborer earn his keep. That's the other thing that happens too, especially when you get on a job where your laborer is like a younger guy and he expects the machine to do 100% of the work. That ain't how locating utilities goes. You're going to do handwork. Now, I as an operator can make your life easier, but that's just one aspect of this where when you're on the end of that shovel, this is one area you're just going to have to do some work. You know, probe rods are really helpful. Use the snot out of them. Make sure you're thorough with your probe rod. But at the same time, your laborer's just gonna have to work until you find those utilities. You can't take anything for granted. You know, in my neck of the woods, it's supposed to be like a minimum of 3 foot before you get to your utilities when they do a run with like gas. We were in a subdivision one day getting ready to do a basement, and I just went and took the excavator and scratched the top. I was just going to make my laborer's life just a hair easier by taking the first like 2 or 3 inches. And I had a bucket that was totally smooth. It had spade teeth across the whole thing. And so I was only taking about a 1/2 inch with every pass. On my second pass, I'm not even an inch down on my second pass, and I just shaved the top of the gas line. And when you got down and actually looked at it, that gas line was actually above the curb line because the contour of the grade came up. So when they put those in, the gas line was actually like 2 inches above the curb line. You can't ever take for granted that utilities are where they're supposed to be. You always have to dig totally blind, and there's just no getting around it. So that's kind of the best tips I can give you for digging around utilities. Is just go slow, be methodical, and be precise with everything. So, Colt, no, there isn't. We have John Deere Agriculture, but oh, AP, that surprises me. I'm actually kind of shocked. I have no idea, Colton. I would have thought for sure Deere would be tapping into the European market, especially over there in England. I have no idea, unless they don't want to deal with kind of revamping their machines to get into the small conditions. That's the only thing I could think. Wow, that's interesting, AP. I never would have guessed that. I agree with you on the backhoe. So many other options out there now. Yeah, there really are. And in all honesty, kind of piggybacking off of that, which Lever Monkey, what's your actual name? It's going to take me like 3 or 4 times to get it to where I remember it, but let me know your name and I'll start calling you by your actual name. But yeah, there are so many different options that are far better than backhoes. And that was really reflecting itself when I was on the equipment sales side. Like the 580 Super N, or the 580 Super, whatever year you have, was one of the top sellers. And sales of the backhoes had just been in steady decline over the last like 10 years or so. And ultimately it's because, yeah, there's better tools out there. There's more effective tools that will do the job not only faster, but it's more precise. It's easier to get into position. You know, if you think about trying to get a backhoe situated and then keep it online while you scoot yourself forward with the back arm, like that's just not an efficient way of doing things. Versus if I have a mini excavator, I can outdig a backhoe with a mid-sized mini excavator. And then, you know, similarly, I can outdig a backhoe when it's using its front bucket with a CTL. Like I can get through rougher conditions with the CTL. I'm gonna float over mud instead of bogging down with the tires on the backhoe. I don't hold as much material in the bucket, but I can probably, you know, over time I can make probably 2 or 3 passes for every one pass in the backhoe, because, you know, I can just boom, boom, back and forth in the skid steer. Backhoe, I'm having to shift gears, and I've got that really long turn radius that I gotta work around. So, yes, backhoes have their place on certain jobs and certain circumstances, but most of the time there are much more efficient machines that you can use. Merrick, Frank clearly has his head in the sand when it comes to backhoes. You know, I will say, to an extent, yes. But the other thing is, when you are intimately knowledgeable on a machine, like Frank is with that backhoe, he can make that machine sing. And when you translate into a new machine where you don't have all of that history and those skills and you don't know it as well, you do lose production. So I ultimately think if you were to twist Frank's arm and make him run an excavator, a mini excavator, for 6 months, I think he would 100% be more efficient. But the backhoe's what he knows, and he's able to stay efficient. And at the end of the day, what this all boils down to, we can talk about it kind of in these terms all we want, but really what it boils down to is, if Frank is able to bid work and stay competitive with his backhoe against other contractors that are using mini excavators and CTLs, by all means, more power to Frank. That just goes to show you his skill level in that machine. So that's another aspect that filters into this. Is it really, there are multiple, this is something that I've come to learn about this industry, is there are 8 different ways to skin a cat, but everyone thinks that their way is the only way. And that's kind of in line with Frank. Like, everyone, myself included, is convinced that mini excavators and CTLs are way faster and it's way better and everything. But at the same time, it's not the only way to do it. And as long as Frank is able to stay competitive and get his jobs done and make some money and have a decent margin, it doesn't matter what tool he uses. It's whatever one he wants to use. If he likes you running the flat shovel better than a spade shovel, more power to him. That's not my preference. But if he's getting the job done and he's staying in line with where I'm at, by all means. Let's see here. Mike, I'm sorry that I'm taking a while to get to you guys, but Mike, opinions on operator schools. I have yet to find an operator school that I'm really impressed with. I'll just put it that way. Most of the time, those schools will charge you anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000, and it's a 4 to 6 week program, and they're going to show you what I could teach you on YouTube, which is how to run an excavator and how to run a skid steer and how to run a backhoe. Legitimately, if you were to go down the road to your rental barn and rent yourself a mini excavator and watch some YouTube videos, you will get the exact same education you would have gotten out of one of those operator schools. What I really want to see, and what Rick and I have really been kicking around, is starting an operator school where we would bring people out and, like, legitimately you would start digging for pipe your first day. We're going to give you some time to learn the machine. You'll have like 4 to 6 hours the first day where you get to learn the controls on the machine, and then we're going to put you in a situation where you're legitimately digging for pipe. And that way, as you learn to dig in the machine, you're also learning how to put pipe in the ground, and how to dig a safe trench, and how to shore and bench, and how to move a trench box around, like all of these other things. And that's what these schools just haven't really figured out, is they have to actually practice real job site stuff. You can't just go out into a nice flat open field and say, okay, run your bulldozer and make it flat. Well, it's already flat. No shit. Like, you're done. There's no skills being learned there. Versus if we take you out, we have you dig, pipe in, and we set the pipe and we get all that done in the first couple days, and now we say, okay, jump in that dozer, and I know you don't know anything, but you need to backfill that trench and it needs to be flat. Okay, now you're learning how to do that, and we're going to work alongside you and show you how you do that safely, where you're not going to roll into the hole, or you're not going to push your pipe with the spoils as they roll into the trench. You're not going to push your pipe up. Like, these are all real skills that you need to learn. And ultimately, that's just what these schools just don't teach, is real working conditions. So that's kind of where I'm at on schools. I will let you guys know as soon as I stumble across one that really does a good job at effectively teaching job site skills, but as of right now, I have yet to come across one. Let's see here. Eric Miller's been doing it for 20 years, like razzing about it. Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. We love razzing Frank. He's a good guy, and he's good about it too. He's good-natured about it. He has a fun time. Yeah, Lever Monkey, 100%. Mystery pipes happen all the time. Yeah, AP, get your JCB backhoe out of here, man. Like, get that out of here. Ryan, 100%. Frank is not dumb at all. He is a smart guy, and if it was costing him a substantial amount of money to run that backhoe over a mini, you bet your ass he would switch out. Shane. Okay, Shane. Like I said, it's going to take me 2 or 3 times. Maybe even 4 or 5, but I will remember your name at some point here. Sebastian, great advice. Thank you. I'll be digging, very busy right away. Next to a busy highway soon. I'm pretty nervous. So, Sebastian, that's the biggest thing I'll tell you is I still get nervous digging over utilities because the stakes, ultimately the stakes are pretty high, and you're digging totally blind off of someone else's little tool that they use to show you where something is. That doesn't mean that's where it is. So I still, nervous is a little extreme to say, but I'm definitely way more attentive, and I am not relaxed when I'm digging over utilities. And Shane, you can back me up if you feel the same way with how much you do it. It may be a totally different story, but like digging around utilities is not relaxed operating. You are very much engaged and paying attention. And so that being said, just go slow, and if there's any doubt, hand dig. That's the best piece of advice I can give you, is if you think I might be able to take one more pass, don't take one more pass. Have your laborer hand dig it. And I tell you, you can do this in a way that you can make your laborer's life very easy. So let's say you've got your run of utilities staked here, and we're running this way, but so you guys can see, I'm going to tilt it up. So you got your line of utilities staked. Let's say this is your 3-foot window. Go 1 bucket width outside of that full 3-foot window and dig down about 1.5 feet. Same on this side, 1.5 feet, roughly. And then have your laborer start right at the edge and dig across, but have them start right where you took your 1.5 feet and push those spoils off into that trench you've provided for relief. That makes your laborer's life really easy. It doesn't take a lot of effort you literally put your shovel in the ground and stand on it. And if you're within 4 to 6 inches of the side of that trench, as you stand on it, it's naturally going to push that material down into that trench you've created for relief. And if you keep working your way back, you dig yourself all the way across, and now you've got yourself, a good 8 to 10 inches down that is safe to take. Excuse me, sorry. And so now what you can do is you can take your bucket with your teeth, and you go right to the bottom of where he safely dug, and you pull back, but you pull back coming up at an angle, because utilities can do this underground. So pull back up at an angle, and you can clear that out for him. And then you do the same thing over outside of your 3.5, 4 foot window, dig down another 1.5 feet or so, have your laborer repeat the process. It's really not that bad for the laborer if you provide him that relief in the safe zone that he can kind of kick those spoils off into, and you can actually work yourself down and expose utilities relatively quickly. So all that to say, you don't need to be super stressed and nervous. Just go slow, be methodical, and dig in your safe zones. Know that you're safe before you take a big old scoop. Ryan, something to add to digging around surfaces. Be careful around the saddles on water main going into homes. We dug one up by hand, it still blew apart. So yeah, anytime you're, and that's a whole other thing. So anytime you're digging around a water main, you have another thing you have to worry about, which is the fact that water main is actually held together by the dirt around it. So Shane, you'll have to back me up on this one. Like some water mains in some municipalities will run like over 100 psi. Like it is a substantial amount of pressure in that main. And at the end of the day, you're talking about ductile iron pipe that's literally put together just like storm pipe. It's the dirt around it that keeps it in place and keeps it from just popping out. And that's why anytime you have an angle of any sort, you actually put down what's called a force block, or man, what is that called? I can't remember the term. I think it's a force block. You basically pour a big chunk of concrete right behind the pipe, and that chunk, that it's literally the weight of that concrete getting buried over by soil that keeps that pipe at a 90-degree, sorry, I'll tip it up, keeps it at a 90-degree angle without one side blowing out because of the pressure. So when you start exposing a decent section of water main, if you expose too much, you can have it to where the pressure will physically blow it out. So yeah, that's a great thing to add, Ryan, is water mains do behave differently than your other utilities. Oh yeah, Nathan, I popped my first gas line 2 or 3 weeks ago with Rick. It was technically not our fault, but you know, it happens. JJ, that's true. Here, mini excavators are being used on jobs, backhoes. Yeah, mini excavators have largely replaced a lot of the backhoe work out there. And Shane, yeah, there's nothing better than on-the-job training, and that's what these schools just don't even remotely come close to, is simulating even on-the-job training. Ryan, also seen it multiple times where we thought we found the gas line, dug further by hand, found the actual gas line. Yep, that's exactly what happened when we hit our gas line. There was an abandoned line exactly where it was marked out. We didn't know it was abandoned, but we found the gas line, and I went to clear out beside it. Boom. The new line that had been bored was actually a foot deeper, and it was 4 feet away from the one that was marked, which was the old abandoned line. So the gas company actually came out and told us, look, this was not your fault. You hand dug, you located it exactly where it said it was. There was not another one marked. There was no way for you to know it was there. So we're actually not getting charged for that one, even though we did hit it. So that was kind of a silver lining, but we still hit a gas line, which is never fun. So anyway, Cole, what machine would you compare to a Cat 323F? 323F. That's gonna be most likely, that's like a Cat 320, like the old 320s. But let me look. Let's see here. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, so that looks like it's roughly so just to give you a little insight on the nomenclature with the Cat machines, the 3 designates that it's in the excavator lineup. The last 2 numbers designate the weight in tons. So a 323 is a 23-ton machine. So a Cat 320, the older line, was a 20-ton machine. And so what it looks like they've kind of done with their newer lineups is, instead of kind of being general with it's going to be a 345 is a 45-ton machine, they actually really honed in with the 349. It's really a 49-ton machine, but that's comparable to the old 345s as far as the weight class. So my guess, if I were thrust block, thank you guys, sweet Jesus, that was driving me nuts, thank you. Anyway, so the 323 is really close to that 320, either 320 or a 325. I don't know which one it would be closer to. The FL stand for on previous cat excavators. That's a good question. See if someone else can answer that one, because I don't remember what the FL stands for on. So it could be 2. So if it's the F series, you'll also see that it will have LC, which stands for long carriage. So if you're talking like a 349 FLC, or let me think about that. Where did that model switch over? Yeah, it should be a 349. So that's a 49-ton excavator. It's an F series, which is the, whenever they upgrade their models, they will change that letter. Up until recently, when they just totally redid their lineup, and then all of a sudden now they don't have the letter nomenclature. We're getting all, it gets confusing because Cat just switched all this stuff. But let's go back to 349F. That's an F series excavator. It's a 49-ton machine, and LC stands for long carriage. So I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. What companies are there on the earth moving? What companies that are in the earth moving that don't have to deal with utilities? There's very few. I mean, I would say if you're doing a new residential development, or if you're doing like a huge warehouse project that's in a big, like, wide open field, a lot of times you don't have to deal with utilities until you go to tie in with the sanitary and the water. But yeah, most aspects of earth moving, you're going to come into contact with utilities at one point in time. So Shane, digging around known pipe is like downshifting to first gear. 100%. Slow, be methodical, don't rush it, or shit's gonna break. So that's a good comparison. I'll back you up on being nervous around utilities. My cousin was a mainline hoe operator for a number of years and now his own company, but we're still very cautious. That's the thing. Nervous isn't necessarily the right word. I mean, it is to an extent. It's more of the realization that the stakes are high. You know, if I'm digging a basement, or if I'm digging a trench and I dig a little too deep, okay, yeah, we got to throw some stone down or whatever. It's an inconvenience. It costs us a little bit of money, you know, whatever. It is what it is. But when you're digging around utilities, you're going to have, you know, best case scenario, you hit one and you have a big bill. Worst case scenario, you hit a gas line, or you hit an electrical line, someone gets killed, or you injure someone, or you damage property. Like, the stakes are just significantly higher when you're digging around utilities. And so I think it's more of just that heightened awareness of there is no room for oops when you're digging around utilities. So yeah, thrust block. Thank you guys so much for reminding me what a thrust block was. That was the brain farts when you're live. They happen. Yeah, Shane, 100%. It's the pressure of those lines, and he's talking about the water line, for those of you who aren't keeping up there. It's the pressure inside those water mains will physically push the pipe apart, and that's why you have a different, like, you have to dig around a water main very, very differently than you do other utilities. Like, if you're familiar with digging around your other utilities, you can dig out a 100-foot section and have those suckers dangling and hanging, and then you can backfill up and kind of, you know, get them back to the level they need to be at, and it's not that big of a deal. You can't do that with a water main. You can expose a tiny little section of water main and be okay. You start exposing a big run of water main, and you're gonna run into some serious issues. 580 SL's base still digging holes. Yeah, those L series 580s were tanks. They just go and go and go and go. Frank, awesome for you to show up, man. We were totally just talking about you a little bit earlier, and that always happens. It's like your ears start burning and then all of a sudden you're here. Yeah, and 100%. The gas lines, when they rebore them, they always put them off to the side. They're never exactly in line with the old one. They never pull the old one, so you always, it's miserable. Anytime I will say this, lesson learned on my part. Anytime you come across a steel gas line, don't take for granted that that's the gas line that's marked, because there's a good chance they've bored a plastic line somewhere around that. Until you are positive there's not another gas line, keep hand digging. Ryan, it's like Beetlejuice. We talked about Frank so much that's right. We just said his name, Frank, and he shows up. That's funny. Yeah, absolutely. We were talking you up, Frank. We talked a little shit on backhoes, but at the same time, we're talking you up because you actually make money running a backhoe over a mini excavator. So, as always, the age-old debate. Joe, hey, recently got a job, haven't started yet, but I will be a laborer. Any advice to stand out? My goal is to be an operator. Joe, the best piece of advice I can say is, if you don't have something to do, keep your phone in your pocket and watch the operator and pay attention to what the operator is doing in that particular moment. How is he digging? What is he digging for? What's the process that you're involved in? What's the next step? Look over here at what's going on at this aspect of the job. Be a sponge that whole time. That's going to set you apart. Because I can tell you right now, 9 out of 10 laborers, as soon as they're done shoveling, they pull this out and they start messing around until someone says, put your phone down and get back to work. That is a plague in our system right now. In our entire industry, that is just such an issue. So if you can stay off your phone and you can be proactive, go out of your way to try to make your operator's life easier. Those are the sort of things that are going to stand out. Frank, that's a good point. If you do footing work 95% of the time, you're not dealing with utilities because it's an open lot where you're doing a building, and generally they're not running utilities right through the middle of an open lot. Oh, Colton, is it hot in the dealer office when you sold KC? No, we had air conditioning, unless you're talking about something else. Like, no, it wasn't bad. Frank, got an interesting question for you. Not taking dealership into consideration, if you were going to buy a new backhoe today, what brand would you get based off price of machine? Ooh, I got to read through the comments to see Frank's response now. Deer case. Okay, you threw deer in there. I'll let it slide, Frank. But I'm happy to see case right there. So if you won't buy a new one, Frank, that makes me ask, would you buy a mini excavator? Would you finally come to the dark side? Or do you just like your machine so much you just want to stick with your machine? I guess is my question. JJ, have you seen people who completely abuse their equipment? A guy came with a backhoe near my house, pull out a rock, guy left with no teeth on his bucket. Oh, when you work on the dealership side, when you're on the support side, you see some very interesting uses of machines. We came in one day to one of our regular customers that they had a CTL and 3 of their rollers, the frame for the rollers was cracked so bad that 2 of the rollers had fallen out and the 3rd one was about to fall out. It was a concrete company and they did residential work, and it was from the guys going full speed. You're talking a new residential sub where they've poured the sidewalk and they've poured the driveways and everything, but they haven't backfilled up to the level of them, and these guys would full blast straight over top of it. And they literally cracked we had to replace the entire undercarriage frame on one side of the machine because they had run it that hard over the concrete, it had cracked all the way through. So yeah, you see some crazy abuse when you're on the dealership side. Sometimes new polyline is put inside the old steel line. I did not know that, Frank. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. I had no idea they would do that. Anything about deer that stands out to you? We talked about them earlier. 95% is an odd number, Frank, but that's, 98% of statistics are made up on the spot. Oh, you won't buy a mini. He won't buy a mini, guys. All right. He won't buy one. I thought we would, I thought with some gentle prodding and some loving crap being given to you, we could convert you, but apparently it's just not taking hold. So Shane, you actually did one of those gas line replacements where they sleeve the old line, or I should say they put a liner in the old steel line. Colton, I have no idea what the Cat Power Parade is. I'm assuming it's Cat just, you know, inflating their egos some more with most of their events, but I don't know for sure. Joe, thanks so much. Been watching your videos. I just recently watched your video on how to convert tenths to inches and how to read sticks. Any other? Honestly, Joe, if you can work your way through that Down and Dirty series, that whole series is geared for guys that are getting into the industry. So all of them, I hate to promote my own channel so blatantly, but honestly, that whole series is geared towards guys that are getting into the industry and just want to get a better idea of what to expect and certain skills and tricks to pick up. I would say work your way through that whole series. Just finished a job Minnie couldn't finish. Sewer main was too deep. Well, that sounds like you need to step up to a real man's hoe, Frank. I mean, I'm not saying a Mini's going to be the end-all be-all, but an excavator is going to be way faster than a backhoe. Just saying. We're gonna get together and do this dig off at some point in time. Backhoe person, they're just my favorite. Nobody can change my mind. And that's Colton. We give Frank a lot of crap, and obviously, like we've talked about, hating on backhoes has kind of become a meme on this channel. But dude, I don't fault you one bit for liking backhoes, and there's nothing wrong with it, and you don't need to feel bad about that. Like, backhoes are solid pieces of equipment. They really are. Especially before many excavators came along and skid steers, like, backhoes were the machine to have on a job because they were so versatile and they could do so many different things, and you didn't have to go back and get a front loader, because before CTLs, that's what you were looking at, is you were going to have an excavator and a front loader on the job. Well, now that's 2 round trips with your equipment trailer, and that's 2 large pieces of equipment that cost a lot of money hourly to run, and you've got a lot more maintenance costs associated with that. So backhoes have been a really, really pivotal piece of equipment to have on the job for a long time, and still in certain situations, like when I was doing erosion control, which is where I got all of my backhoe seat time and where I really developed my strong dislike for backhoes. Legitimately, that was the tool to have, because I couldn't take a mini excavator 8 miles up the job site to our next, our next check dam to go fix it. A backhoe was the only tool for the job. So please don't take any of this like we're really hating and dogging on backhoes. It's really, at this point, it's more of us, first of all, giving Frank shit, especially now that he's here. But secondly, it's just kind of become part of the show that we hate on backhoes. So you don't need to apologize. Heavy equipment operator, what's happening, man? Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Appreciate it. Frank, I'm gonna continue to try to convert you over to an excavator, because now it's like the dark side and the light side of the force. Like, if I can get you to come over to the dark side, I've won. Opinion on the 1-year new Bobcat 66 series skid steers. I haven't ran them, Colton. I honestly don't have an opinion because I haven't had any seat time in them. So yeah, I can't comment on that one, unfortunately. Jessica, it'd be great to see a dozer technique series. So expound on that. What are some things, because I have no problem doing that, but when it comes to dozers, I don't really know what people are looking for to kind of include relevant stuff. So expound on what you would like to see, and I will 100% do that. In fact, tomorrow I am running a dozer all day long. I am more than happy to go record some down and dirties on different techniques. Let me know specifically what you're looking for, and I will absolutely do that for you. Shane, no liner, just pulled a new line inside the old one. 6-inch steel, got 4-inch yellow. Huh, interesting. So did you guys... I'm familiar with doing electrical work with electricians. So did they have to run like a snake line through with an air? Well, like using compressed air and then physically pull the line through? Or did they push it? How does that work? That's actually really interesting and fascinating to me. Rashad, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you backing me up on the Down and Dirty series. Frank, you know, it could have been 1.5 if you'd had a mini this whole time. Dirt moving techniques for better efficiency. So let me see what I can do tomorrow, Jessica. Let me see if I can kind of think through some different techniques. Dozer's one of those that I just kind of get in the machine and run, and I don't really think about the technique that I'm using. So let me do some noodling tomorrow on kind of what I do and what I think makes me more efficient, and I'll try to record some videos. Fair warning, it's going to be a couple weeks before they actually post, because I've got a series of Down and Dirties already in the queue that are coming out. So it's probably going to be like 3 or 4 weeks before you see it. But I will go out and record you some Down and Dirties on techniques for a dozer. Ooh, D6T. I'm all about that. That's a dozer. I love the D6Ts. Those are really, really solid machines, and they push. And they can grade too. Like, that's the beauty. I'm a big fan of the D6Ts. That's the last of my scotch. Dang it. That means we're gonna have to wrap this up soon. What'd you say, Frank? 120 to 150 size excavator might be in my future. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, Frank might be getting into an excavator. Is that what I'm hearing? I would say from everyone that I've ever sold a 120 size excavator to, Frank, I would encourage you to bump up to the next size, just because every single person has gotten into the 120 or 130 was the case size, and it's always been a lack of reach that's been the killer for everybody with that size. And it's not that big of a step up to go to that 160, and you get that much more reach for not that much, you know, additional cost and additional weight and all of that stuff. Yes, Jessica, it is a great dozer. JJ, loving that series too, since I'm trying to get into the industry, so I want to learn as much. Honestly, guys, when it comes to the Down and Dirty series, ask away for content. Like, I am here, I'm guessing as to what would be good for people to know, and I'm kind of thinking back on when I got started, what would I like to know. But legitimately, if you have questions, ask away, and I have no problem putting out videos. And even if I don't get a Down and Dirty out to you right away, I can at least answer some questions for you. I can at least answer some questions in a message, or I've coached multiple people on the phone that are getting into the industry. Like, there are ways I can get you information, even if it's not waiting for the Down and Dirty post. So, oh, like the background. Hey, thank you. I worked hard on this background, dang it. This was probably a solid hour and a half of my week this week. So if you guys haven't heard, I now host The Dirt, which is on Equipment World's channel. I took over for Wayne, who was hosting that, and that's kind of what prompted me to finally do something with the backdrop here. So you will see this backdrop on The Dirt if you tune in starting this Friday. I think the first one drops this Friday with me as the host. So, but I appreciate that. Ryan, we didn't get him on the mini. That's what I'm saying, Frank. I know it's not a mini, but we're starting to bring you over to the world of the excavator, where once we get you sucked in, it's like being part of the Borg. You're just going to be like immediately part of us now. Just before making videos, blew in a two. Okay, so yeah, that's would have been my guess, Shane, as to how you would have done that, is you blow in the pull line and then actually yank it through, lube it up nice, just yank her through. Which you're out in California, aren't you, Shane? I need to come out there and see you at some point in time, because I've been dying to come out to California anyway, but especially to come just even observe on some of your jobs. After watching your channel and seeing some of the stuff you get into, I have no desire to sit in your seat with some of the headaches you have to deal with, but I do want to come watch. Progress. That's right, Ryan. Progress. We'll keep working on them. Here in the next couple of years, you just wait. If Frank ever buys a Mini, I think I'm gonna fly to Oklahoma so that I can film Frank receiving his mini excavator, and we will document that whole process and show it to the world that we finally got Frank into a Mini. Hey Colton, good talking to you, man. I hope we didn't bum you out too much hating on backhoes. I appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next week, brother. Rashad, would be nice to see some videos for the next level in the Down and Dirted series, like more towards management, working with employees in this industry. So I have actually thought about that, Rashad. The problem is I have, and I may do a spin-off like series, because there's so much information still to cover on the Down and Dirty series for new operators. I feel like it wouldn't serve them well to start jumping into the management stuff. But it is on the radar, and I am definitely considering doing something like that at some point down the road here. So I hear you. I do hear you. Frank, so in all honesty, fiscally it might not be more efficient for what you're doing because of the type of work that you're doing. But really what it boils down to is speed. You can move material. I have visitors. Like I said, I have nieces and nephews here this week, and so I have. You want to come over here, Simon? So we're gonna say, can everyone say hello to Simon? Here you go. Here, you sit right here. There you go. So this is my nephew Simon, and he's hardcore into construction equipment. What's your favorite piece of construction equipment?
The cement truck.
Cement truck. Ooh, and I actually did a video for Simon on cement trucks, didn't we? Where you got to look inside one. Yeah. Oh, a trencher? What trencher?
The one that was trenching lines in concrete that was always hard.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty cool trencher. That's an awesome trencher. So I'm going to answer someone's question real quick, okay? All right. Oh, all right. It's time. It's time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm being paged that it's time to get off of the live stream. Simon came to kick me off the live stream, guys. So how about this? We'll do 15 minutes. We'll call it an even 10 o'clock my time. So 15 more minutes and we'll wrap her up. So Frank, I'm sorry I got distracted there by Simon, but basically it's a speed thing. Ultimately, I can take a mini excavator, and because it's got the ability to spin 180 degrees, and you generally, with a smaller footprint machine, have the same reach as your backhoe, I can throw that material, and it's a lot faster than a backhoe. And then for backfilling, because of the fact that a CTL specifically, wheeled machines work too, I'm a fan of CTLs. Because you don't have the huge turning radius, you don't have that huge footprint, even though the bucket capacity is smaller, the speed at which you can get around, you're more efficient, and you can get around in much muddier conditions most of the time because you have the flotation of the tracks versus bogging down with the wheels of your backhoe. So ultimately, that's kind of why I prefer the two machines to the one machine. But again, you are talking about having to load two machines on your trailer, or if you can't, you have to make 2 runs to the job site. So, it's one of those things. You know your business model better than anyone here on the internet does. So ultimately, as much crap as we give you, that's what we were talking about earlier, is if you're bidding work and you're competitive, if you're making a margin that you're happy with, like, we can give you crap all day long. Use the tool that you want to use. But I'm going to tell you that I like my tool better. Do you prefer to operate an excavator over a dozer over excavator? JJ, honestly, they both have their place, and I enjoy both. I enjoy running an excavator because of the technical aspect of it, but I enjoy running a dozer because you really get to shape a job with a dozer. You don't really shape a job with an excavator. You're digging a big hole or you're filling one in. But with a dozer, you get to shape the job. You get to put that finish grade on it, and when you're done, it can look really nice. And so I like that aspect. So I honestly, I prefer to do both. Let me put it that way. I don't like being stuck in a dozer full time. I don't like being stuck in an excavator full time. I do like to float between the two. Logan, favorite machine to work with? Man, on the dozer side, I would say either a D6T or a case, like a case 1150 or a 1650. Those are really, really good machines. The 2050 pushes really well too, but the 1650 and 1150 specifically really are beast machines. When it comes to an excavator, Cabelco. Cabelco, in my opinion, is one of the best machines on the market. So, let's see here. At the end of the day, as an operator, are you more physically tired or mentally? David, mental. Man, operating when you've had a full day of being on, and you guys all know what I mean. When you're on, when you're in the zone, you're concentrating. You're doing a really technical dig, or dozing is always a very mentally intensive task. I'm just physically tired. Now, or I'm sorry, I'm mentally tired. Now, if I'm working slopes or doing something that's really banging me around, you get that physical exhaustion, but it never compares to when you're on the end of a shovel laboring. It's generally more of a mental exhaustion. 3 best machines to master starting off. So I would say mini excavator, a skid steer, and then start getting into a dozer. The reason I say mini excavator is because if you can run a mini excavator, you can run a large excavator. It's just going to move slower, and you have to account for the fact that it's got more momentum. But all of the movements, the motions are the same. Learning to use the smaller machine and manipulate that machine to lift things that are heavier than it can lift is a really important skill that translates up to the big machine. So that's why I say mini excavator. I say skid steer because you've got a lot of things that play into a skid steer that are going to serve you in larger pieces of equipment. A lot of times you're going to be able to doze with a skid steer. You load your bucket up and then you just keep pushing and it turns into a dozer. And so you have to learn to grade and then adjust your bucket for the undulations you're making in your grade. That's a skill that's going to translate to the dozer. You have to learn how to load your bucket up. That's going to translate to a loader. You have to learn how to dump into trucks and on uneven surfaces. And there's a lot of things that will translate to different machines that you can get out of a skid steer. And then a dozer, obviously, because really that's the next big piece of equipment that's very technical, very challenging, and takes a lot of time to master. And so the sooner you can start down that road of mastering a dozer, the better. So those would be my 3. Thank you guys, by the way, for all saying hi to Simon. I will let him see that when I get off of the live stream here, that everyone said hi, and he'll get a huge charge out of that. Where am I living at right now? I live in Central Michigan, and I live at home. Yes. So I travel around. I freelance operate for a bunch of different companies in the area, but then I also travel around and operate with different guys just to kind of showcase their business and also to help them. So I have been all over the country in the last year or so, but I reside in Central Michigan. I know, Frank, we'll always disagree on this. I know, but that's why I enjoy our friendship, is because we're going to give each other crap the whole time about it. So, Jessica, 100%. Dozer is very gratifying. It is, because there's not many other machines on the job that you can start the day with this moonscape disaster, and when you leave, it's like this nice finished lot. Like, I'm trying to think of another machine that would really have that big of an impact on the job. Like, you can use an excavator to blow up the site, and I guess that could be gratifying, and it is to an extent, to see how much dirt you moved. But really, the dozer, when you get that dialed in and it looks nice and you're ready for seed, like, that's really gratifying. So, yeah, Frank, that is 100% true, and that's what we were talking about earlier, is if the bottom line works and you got a nice little fat margin and you're comfortable and you're staying competitive, use whatever tool you like and whatever tool allows you to get the job done the quickest. And that's what we were saying earlier is, you know, for me, that's an excavator. But for someone like you that's been in the seat for the last, you've been in 99, so you've been in the business for 20 something years, you're probably not going to be nearly as efficient in a mini excavator or a mid-size excavator. You're going to be way faster in your backhoe because that's what you know. That's the machine that you are intimate with. So, yeah, it's ultimately you pick the tool that works for you that allows you to stay competitive. So, Jessica, that's awesome. There's not a lot of people that can legit finish those, and females make better operators than males. I'm just gonna say it, and I know that's gonna ruffle some feathers, but it's statistically proven females make better operators than males. So good for you. That's awesome. And I really do appreciate you popping in here to the live stream. And I don't know if you subscribe or not. You should, so that I can tell you I appreciate you subscribing. Because we legitimately do need, and I mean this, they're not just hollow words, we need more females active in this industry. This has traditionally been a man's world, and I know you guys as females deal with a lot of crap. We need to get more females into the industry and kind of balance the scales. So thank you, by the way. That's just a weird way of saying thank you. JJ, you know what's crazy? Some people say that operators don't get tired because they're just sitting. Oh, I know, JJ, but that goes back to the down and dirty that I posted about labor and operator dynamics. Like, laborers will always call us lazy operators, and that's one of those things you just kind of roll with the punches and you accept it for what it is, because they do have a more physically demanding job. But the counter argument to that is, come sit up here in the seat and legitimately finish those for a day. You know, especially if you're working with a grade checker where you don't even have GPS and you're legitimately having to cut grade. Come do that for a day and tell me how you feel at the end of the day from a mental standpoint. Like, that's exhausting. So it goes both ways, but that's part of that operator labor dynamic. We're all going to give each other shit over the day, and through time we will all give each other crap. So Frank, that's a good thought. I mean, he's got a point there, but he's also trying to lure you over to the backhoe side, so you do need to be wary of Frank. I'm telling you, he's a dangerous character, because next thing you know, you're going to be stuck in a backhoe and you're going to be questioning what choices you've made in life, and it's Frank's fault because he lured you in. So, you know, he shows you all the honey. He doesn't show you the bees. So just be wary. Ryan, brother thought that operating was just sitting there until he ran a tractor all day. Then it does. And that's the other thing too, is bouncing around in the seat and all the stuff that you're doing. It's tough. It is not an easy job, and it is physically tiring. But the mental aspect is so much more that for me at least, at the end of the day, it's more of been, I'm sorry, I can't talk. It's been more about the mental exhaustion than it is the physical. So I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I'm going to answer. We've got Merrick and Jessica. I'm going to answer you guys, and then I'm signing out, and I'm sorry if anyone comments after this. But Merrick, yes, love doing finish grading on a dozer. Doing 4-house final grades this week. Could be, yeah. Doing finish grades is legitimately fulfilling and satisfying. So it's just really nice to walk away at the end of the day and go, hey, that grade, which is going to be there for the next however many years, that's 100% me. So, Jessica, I appreciate you guys for subscribing. Honestly, without you guys, this channel would not be where it is. I would not be able to afford to do this channel. So thank you guys. So, and I'm happy to teach. This industry needs more teachers. Like really, really bad. It needs teachers. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. We do this every Sunday night at the same time. It's 7:30. We fire up at 7:30 Eastern time. And we generally go for about 2.5 to 3 hours, which is what we did tonight. So, yeah, you guys have yourselves a lovely evening, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. I'm sorry, not tomorrow. We'll catch you guys next week. We'll see you guys.